Chapter 2809. The middle stage of Tao Lord is far from enough. Su Fong wiped the sweat from his forehead. His eyes were as calm and deep as an ancient well. Advancing to the next level was naturally a good thing. Su Fong's heart was filled with joy, but the sense of urgency did not lessen by much. He returned to the time formation. He continued to devour elixirs and spiritual items to replenish the huge consumption caused by the advancement, striving to stabilize the middle stage of Tao Lord as soon as possible. While he was cultivating in seclusion, news kept coming from ancient Blue City. Just as Hua Tiannu expected, the news of Su Fong establishing a force spread in the heaven-forsaken wilderness, and cultivators rushed to ancient Blue City. At this time, ancient Blue City had changed its name to Square Sky City. In just a few thousand years of development, it had become the second largest force in the heaven-forsaken wilderness, second only to the Taoist sect. The only thing it lacked was experts who surpassed the Taoist sect. However, there were also many problems. After all, Square Sky City had only been established for a short time. The new cultivators who joined were mixed, and most of them were bandits. In the heaven-forsaken wilderness, almost every cultivator had done things like killing and robbing. This was not strange. The main force of Square Sky City now was Su Fong's nearly 3,000 subordinates. Most of the others were a mob. Disobedience happened from time to time. Hua, Tiannu, Qin Heng, and the others could not control the situation. After thinking for a while, Su Fong immediately left Taoist City with his heavenly Tao Dharma body and went straight to Square Sky City. With the heavenly Tao Dharma body personally overseeing the city, Su Fong was once a peerless overlord in the Pansong universe. In addition to his supreme reputation in the heaven-forsaken wilderness, Su Fong had plundered countless resources in Blood Valley's second Star Killer city. It was naturally easy to unify Square Sky City. Su Fong stayed in the time formation for nearly 30,000 years and finally cultivated to the middle stage of Tao Lord. It's time to enter the Blood Valley to train. Su Fong finished cultivating and prepared to enter the Blood Valley for the second time. He activated his Blood Demon Dharma body and took out the blood-killing token to communicate with the space-time where the Blood Valley was. Unexpectedly, Su Fong, who could easily communicate with the Blood Valley in the past, now he could not sense it at all, which surprised him. Su Fong hurriedly asked the staff of the Chamber of Commerce. It turned out that 1,000 years ago, the Blood Valley had been completely sealed off. All the cultivators training in the Blood Valley had been sent out by the will of the Blood Valley. Outsiders were also unable to enter the Blood Valley for some unknown reason. The Blood Valley is a training ground for the cultivators of the Eastern Profound Divine Domain. Why did it close all of a sudden? Could it be related to the invasion of the demon realm? Su Fong was puzzled and could only dismiss the idea of entering the Blood Valley for training. About 100 years passed. QL-11, an incomparably powerful, will suddenly descended from a void, instantly enveloping the entire Taoless city. In an instant, every corner of Taoless City was enveloped by this supreme intent. Whether it was the ordinary mortals or the supreme masters like Taoist Sect Master, they were all trembling and suffocating. They couldn't muster any thoughts of resistance. Their Tao hearts were trembling and their wills were on the verge of collapse. This will definitely did not come from an expert. Su Fong was also quite familiar with it. It came from the laws of Jiuxuan. Why did the laws of Jiuxuan suddenly descend such an astonishing will? Is something big about to happen? Su Fong was shocked and aghast. The laws of Jiuxuan were jointly created by the supreme masters of the Jiuxuan divine domain. Although they did not have self-consciousness, they were like the laws of the heavenly Tao and had supreme will. It was truly inconceivable that the laws of Jiuxuan would suddenly descend their will. Suddenly, a dignified and cold voice rang in everyone's mind. 1,000 years later, the heavenly selection of Jiuxuan will be held. The heavenly selection of Jiuxuan? What was that? Su Fong couldn't help but be stunned. The dignified voice of the heavenly selection of Jiuxuan continued to ring. The heavenly selection of Jiuxuan is a selection of geniuses held by the divine domain of Jiuquan. As long as you are a human, regardless of your background, your cultivation is below that of a Tao master or a Tao master. You are eligible to participate. Su Fong was extremely shocked in his heart. Soon after, a brilliant light bloomed in his eyes. The selection of geniuses from the divine domain of Jiuquan was a grand event that had never been held in the history of the human race. Who wouldn't be excited to have the opportunity to participate in such a grand event? However, this was not the main reason why Su Fong was so excited. After coming to the Eastern Xian divine domain from the Pongsong universe, Su Fong deeply understood how difficult it was for a cultivator from a low-level universe like him to stand out in the strict hierarchy of the Jiuquan divine domain. If it weren't for Su Fong's talent, ability, Tao heart that surpassed the pinnacle, and supreme luck, as well as the great support of the Daozu of Shixian, he would have long been crushed by those great forces until not even dregs remained, let alone rise up against the heavens. And this Jiuquan heaven selection was undoubtedly an opportunity for Su Fong, a heaven-sent opportunity to rise up against the heavens and surpass the oppression and restraints of the great powers. The Jiuquan heaven selection will be held in the training grounds of the 9 divine domains. When the time comes, the 9 training grounds will be connected, and the cultivators will be able to go to other training grounds at will. The voice of heavenly laws from the Jiuquan that followed made Su Fong immediately understand why the Blood Valley was sealed and why he couldn't enter it. The Blood Valley was a place in the Eastern Xian divine domain specially used for cultivators to train. In the Jiuquan divine domain, every divine domain had a training ground like the Blood Valley that was specially used to cultivate geniuses. Now, in order to hold the Jiuquan Heaven Selection Grand event, the 9 training grounds of the Jiuquan divine domain would be connected. This also meant that cultivators from the Jiuquan divine domain would have the opportunity to compete on the same level. How many cultivators below the Tao Lord level in the Jiuquan divine domain were? With so many cultivators competing together, how difficult would it be to rise up among them? Those who can rise above the rest in the Jiuquan Heaven Selection will not only receive generous rewards, authority, and fame in the Jiuquan divine domain, but also receive the full support of the Jiuquan divine domain. The Jiuquan Heaven Selection is to select the true geniuses from among the cultivators of the human race and use the power of the entire human race to nurture them into top experts. The detailed rules of the Jiuquan Heaven Selection will be made public one after another. The cold and dignified voice of the Jiuquan Heaven Selection continued. There was a pause. The voice of the Jiuquan Heaven Selection was no longer dignified. Instead, it turned solemn and sighed. Young juniors of my race, you have encountered the best opportunity, but at the same time, you have also encountered the worst moment. Everyone, work hard. The voice gradually faded away and finally disappeared into nothingness. The Supreme will also disappeared without a trace. Whoosh! Exclamations and cheers rang out in Wudao City, shaking the entire city. Not only Wudao City, but the entire heaven-forsaken barren region, every mystic realm in Dongxian, and even the places where the humans of the Jiuquan divine domain lived could hear the voice of the Jiuquan Heaven Selection. Everyone was shocked and excited, especially those cultivators who met the requirements to participate in the Jiuquan Heaven Selection. Their fighting spirit was ignited. Su Fong was no exception. Opportunity. The Jiuquan Heaven Selection was undoubtedly a chance for a lowly cultivator like him to rise up. No matter what, he had to grasp this opportunity tightly. Su Fong clenched his fists tightly, a terrifying light flashing in his eyes. Shixian's Daozu suddenly called out from inside Su Fong's Jiuquan Daoist palace. Su Fong, Master, the foreign races have invaded the world of the Yao race, and humanity is facing a crisis of life and death. It is time for geniuses like you to step forward and shine. The Jiuquan Heaven Selection is a gathering of geniuses held to deal with the invasion of the foreign races. I order you to do your best. Shixian's Daozu was naturally involved in the Jiuquan Heaven Selection and had long known the inside story. Don't worry, Master. This disciple will do his best and will not embarrass Master. This Jiuquan Heaven selection is a gathering of cultivators from the 9 divine domains. There are as many experts as there are clouds in the sky. The higher-ups of the human race have also reached an agreement with the Yao race. There will be experts from the Yao race participating in the Jiuquan Heaven selection. Don't be careless. The Yao race is also participating in the Jiuquan Heaven selection. You will know when the time comes. I'm only revealing some things to you in advance so that you can be prepared. Remember, the goal I have for you is to enter the top 1,000 in the Jiuquan Heaven selection. Enter the top 1,000? Su Fang was completely dumbfounded. In the Jiuquan divine domains, the number of Dao lords and cultivators below them was incalculable. In the 9 divine domains, there were also many successors of Daozu's personal disciples like Dongxian Hui Wang and many other reclusive experts. There were also the experts of the Yao race. Those who could stand out from so many cultivators and demons and enter the top 1,000 were definitely geniuses among geniuses and experts among experts. In addition to strength, a certain amount of luck was also required. Shi Xian's Daozu's goal for Su Fang was to enter the top 1,000. How could Su Fang not be shocked? Su Fang stammered, "Master, I'm only an intermediate Dao Lord now. It hasn't even been 1,000,000 years since I started cultivating. In addition, I can't use some of my powerful techniques in the Blood Valley. The top 1,000 in the Jiuquan Heaven selection, isn't that a little too ambitious?" Shi Xian Daozu snorted. "I am Shi Xian's Supreme Master. If this ancestor's personal disciple can't even enter the top 1,000, won't the other old fellows laugh at us? Not for yourself, but for my face. Do as you deem fit." Shi Xian Daozu's face was related to the entire Western Xian divine domain. What else could Su Fang say? He could only grit his teeth and agree. "Don't worry, Master. For Master's face, this disciple will go all out this time," Shi Xian Daozu chuckled. "That's more like it. Don't belittle yourself. This Jiuquan Heaven selection will take a long time. You can train and improve as you go. Use the training to sharpen yourself and quickly increase your strength. There is still some hope for you to enter the top 1,000. Shi Xian Daozu didn't think Su Fang could enter the top 1,000, but he set such a goal for Su Fang. Su Fang was very depressed. Moreover, the rewards for this Jiuquan Heaven selection will be beyond your imagination. Aren't you looking everywhere for spirit items that can nurture the heavenly Dao core? As long as your results are good enough, you can find it almost effortlessly. There are also many treasures and corresponding positions. As long as you are talented enough, you can easily obtain everything. Chapter 2810. Shi Xian Daozu's encouraging voice sounded like a curse to Su Fang. It made Su Fang feel for the first time that becoming Daozu's disciple wasn't necessarily a good thing. It wasn't so easy to be Daozu's disciple. However, no matter what, Su Fang had to go all out this time. The Jiuquan Heaven selection was an unprecedented event. How many times could a cultivator encounter such an event in their life? He had to seize the opportunity to shine brightly so that he wouldn't waste his life. Next, Su Fang entered the chrono formation and began to cultivate crazily to improve his cultivation and the strength of his various avatars and divine abilities. Su Fang didn't lack cultivation resources now. What he lacked was a long time to settle down. A mere 1,000 years was equivalent to 30,000 years inside the time and flowing time formation. To a cultivator, it was simply too short. In such a short period of time, it was almost impossible to raise his cultivation level to the upper level of Dao Lord. Su Fang could only think of ways to improve the abilities of his avatar, divine abilities, mystic treasures, and especially the sky-piercing Blood King Vine Seed. After spending more than 10,000 years in the flowing time array, Su Fang finally comprehended another peerless divine ability from the Yang Refinement Profound Transformation Technique. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine Seed had finally matured to a young state after devouring all the cultivator corpses stored by Su Fang. The blood veins formed by the Blood King Vine covered the area above the chest. The improvement of his Essence Soul avatar was the most shocking. Not only did the power of his Essence Soul rise to a new level. It was comparable to the peak of the upper Tao Lord realm. Moreover, he had mastered all the level 2 formations in the Luo Tian wheel. His essence soul could enter the third space of the Luo Tian wheel to cultivate level 3 formations. His comprehension of the heavenly secret life, shrinking technique, heavenly secret unravel, and other supreme divine abilities had become more profound. His Xianwang avatar had also improved a lot. On this day, Su Fang's heavenly Tao avatar suddenly returned from Square Heaven City. It wasn't that something had happened in Square Heaven City. During this period of time, Su Fang had the heavenly Tao Dharma body to oversee the situation. He displayed the loftiness of a peerless overlord of the Pan-Song universe. He completely integrated Fang Tian City with an iron fist. Moreover, they had also swallowed up the surrounding forces, both big and small. Their overall strength had increased by 10 times. At this time, except for the fact that Square Sky City didn't have any experts surpassing the Taoist Lord level, its overall strength was already comparable to the Taoist sect. Its sphere of influence extended from the original ancient Blue City to the border of the Taoist sect's sphere of influence. The Taoist sect, the number 1 power in the heaven-forsaken desolate region, was threatened and challenged, but they were afraid of the Su Fang and did not dare to make a move against the heaven realm. For this reason, Pathless Sect Master personally came to Su Fang's cave residence in the Chamber of Commerce and had a long talk with Su Fang. Su Fang had no plans to dominate the heaven-forsaken desolate region. Besides, with Su Fang's talent, he would definitely be a peerless expert in Dongxian in the future. It was unlikely that he would stay in a barren land like the heaven-forsaken barren region that was lacking in resources. In the end, Pathless Sect Master left without worries. Su Fang's Heaven's Path avatar returned to Dallas City because Xuanqin had finally transcended from a low-level universe, which was the false god in the Jiuxuan god realm. QL11, when he was in the Fire Luo mystical world, Su Fang had killed an ice featherlawn. It was a divine beast that far surpassed the divine phoenix of the Pan-Song universe. After so many years of integration, Xuanqin's improvement speed was naturally astounding. Now, he had finally transcended. Xuanqin's ascension was naturally a joyous occasion. Su Fang stopped cultivating and put down everything to accompany Xuanqin for 10 years, touring the heaven-forsaken desolate region. Xuanqin had finally transcended the Pan-Song universe. He was naturally in a good mood, so he proposed a walk around the heaven-forsaken desolate region. Su Fang had to prepare for the Jiuxuan heaven selection and had no time to spare. He asked Ancestral Graygon, Qin Heng, and a dozen experts to accompany Xuanqin. At the same time, he also asked Xiao Shuiqing to accompany him. Zhong Dayun also volunteered to accompany him. In the heaven-forsaken desolate region, with Su Fang's reputation and power, no cultivator dared to have any ideas about his Tao partner. Moreover, there were so many experts accompanying him. Su Fang was naturally very assured. Next, Su Fang continued to settle into a state of cultivation and focused on improving his strength. Not only Su Fang, but also the heaven-forsaken desolate region, the Eastern Xian Divine Realm, and even the entire Jiuxuan Divine Realm, almost all the Tao Lords and cultivators below Tao Lords were preparing for the Jiuxuan Heaven selection. In the Eastern Xian Divine Realm, many cultivators who were very far away from the heaven-forsaken desolate region immediately rushed to the heaven-forsaken desolate region when they heard the voice of the Jiuxuan will of heaven. Even if they passed through the profound gate, it was difficult to reach the heaven-forsaken desolate region in 1,000 years. Moreover, most cultivators could not even afford the cost of passing through the profound gate. Fortunately, for the sake of the Jiuxuan heaven selection, all the Tao Lords and cultivators below Tao Lords who were going to the heaven-forsaken desolate region were exempted from the profound gate. It did not matter if they could not make it in time. They would only be a little late to enter the Blood Valley and suffer a little loss. For true geniuses, this was almost negligible. As the date of the Jiuxuan heaven selection approached, the Tao Lord city, the heaven-forsaken desolate region, and even some ruins were filled with cultivators. The formerly desolate, heaven-forsaken desolate region had become extraordinarily lively. With so many people, all kinds of disputes naturally increased, causing the heaven-forsaken desolate region to become even more chaotic. 100 years before the Jiuquan heaven selection officially began, an old and majestic voice spread throughout the heaven-forsaken desolate region. This seat is from the eastern profound heavenly pavilion, and my name is Tuo Qianji. I was appointed by Lord Dongxian Daozu to be in charge of the Jiuquan heaven selection Blood Valley selection. This was not a heaven law from Jiuquan, but a supreme expert from the eastern profound heavenly pavilion, Tuo Qianji. He was probably at the same level as the wine saint, or perhaps even stronger. This seat will now announce the rules of the Jiuquan heaven selection. As soon as Tuo Qianji's voice fell, all the cultivators in the heaven-forsaken desolate region pricked up their ears, afraid that they would miss a word. The Jiuquan heaven selection begins with an elimination round, followed by an elite round, and finally the final round. Since the training grounds of the divine realms in Jiuquan are different, the rules of the elimination round and the elite round are set according to local conditions. The Blood Valley is divided into the heavenly kill, earthly kill, and human kill zones. The elimination round will be held in the human kill zone. Cultivators who have the Blood Fiend Dharma body and have the title of Divine General of Bloody Kill can enter the elite round directly without participating in the elimination round. Tuo Qianji's announcement caused an uproar. Such a rule was obviously beneficial to cultivators who had entered the Blood Valley before, especially those Divine Generals of Bloody Kill, who didn't need to participate in the elimination round directly, so it was naturally very easy. Many cultivators were very dissatisfied with the rules set by the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion, but no one dared to say anything. Su Feng breathed a sigh of relief. He was now a 2-star Divine General of Bloody Kill, so he naturally didn't need to participate in the initial elimination round. With more time, he might be able to break through to the upper Dao Lord realm, which would increase his chances of success. The rules of the elimination round are very simple. All participants will each receive a Heaven's Chosen token. In the human kill zone, you can snatch the tokens of other participants. The time limit is 10,000 years. In the end, according to the number of tokens snatched, the top 100,000 people will enter the elite round. The elite round will be held in the earthly kill zone. After Lord Daozu personally remodeled it, Starkiller City no longer exists in the human kill zone of the Blood Valley. The entire human kill zone is the area of the elite round. The rules of the elite round are similar to the elimination round. The number of tokens snatched will determine the final 10,000 people to enter the final stage of the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. The final 1,000 people will be selected to go to the Middle Profound Divine Realm to participate in the final stage of the Jiuquan Divine Realm. The final stage of the Blood Valley will be held in the Heavenly Kill Zone. Remember, the Heavenly Kill Zone is connected to the training grounds of other divine realms. In other words, the cultivators who enter the final stage can go to the training grounds of other divine realms. There will also be cultivators from other divine realms entering the Heavenly Kill Zone. Not only cultivators, but also experts from the demon realm. The specific rules of accumulating points will be explained in detail in the tokens given to you. This seat will not explain too much. In the Jiuquan Heaven selection, if you encounter a life or death crisis, you can activate the token to leave the Blood Valley. However, this is equivalent to giving up your right to participate in the competition. There's one thing that this seat must remind you in advance. After all, there is a process to activating the Heaven Selection token. It cannot guarantee the absolute safety of every participant. If you admit defeat or fail to activate the token in time, you will be responsible for the consequences. The murderer will also not be held accountable. When Tuo Qianji said this, a burst of exclamations rang out in Daoless City and the other mystic realms and ruins of the heaven-forsaken wastelands. Apart from Su Feng, who knew in advance that expert from the demon race would participate in the Jiuquan Heaven selection, the other cultivators had no idea. With experts from the demon race participating, This meant that the Jiuquan heaven selection would be even crueler. What shocked many cultivators the most was the rule that the murderer would not be held accountable. This also meant that this Jiuquan heaven selection would set off a bloody storm in the Blood Valley. Who knew how many cultivators would die in it? Some cultivators whose Tao hearts were not firm enough and who did not have much confidence in their own strength even began to think about retreating. The rules of this Jiuquan heaven selection are actually so simple. However, the simpler the rules, the fairer it is. Relying on one's true strength is the fairest way. Su Fong understood the rules of the Jiuquan heaven selection and was immediately relieved. Since he did not need to participate in the elimination round, it was equivalent to having an extra 1,000 years. With the help of the time formation in the cave abode, it was equivalent to having an extra 30,000 years. It was not impossible for him to break through to the upper level of Tao Lord. Therefore, Su Fong continued to cultivate in seclusion in the cave abode. He wanted to successfully break through to the upper level of Tao Lord before the elite competition began. Unexpectedly, not long after Su Fong entered the state of cultivation, a man's voice came from outside the cave abode. Is Su Fong Da here? Su Fong could tell that the man's voice came from a high-level member of the Chamber of Commerce. He did not know why he suddenly wanted to see him. Su Fong asked, "What is it?" Chapter 28:11. Change his abode? The abode Su Fong rented was the best one in Wudao City's Chamber of Commerce. Su Fong mainly valued the chronoformation inside the abode that sped up time by 30 times. The Jiuquan God selection was about to begin, and Su Fong wanted to make use of the limited time to break through to the upper realm of Tao Lord. Now that the Chamber of Commerce had asked Su Fong to change his abode, how could Su Fong agree so easily? A cold voice came from inside the abode. What? Did I not pay enough rent to the Chamber of Commerce? Or is it because there are too many people in Wudao City and the Chamber of Commerce wants to increase the rent? How much do you want? Tell me, Su Fong, can still afford it. Su Fong did not lack money now. Su Fong had plundered the second city of slaughter in the Blood Valley and now had control of Fong Tian City. There were alchemy and artifact refinement sites in the city. Now that the Jiuquan God selection was about to begin, cultivators had gathered in the heaven-forsaken wilderness. This was still Su Fong not wanting to be distracted. If he was willing, he could personally refine the silver-striped blood pill. Those participating in the Jiuquan God selection would be scrambling for it. With Su Fong's current status, how could he lack money? The upper echelon of the Chamber of Commerce said apologetically, Su Fong Da must be joking. Even if the Chamber of Commerce wants to increase the price, how could we dare to raise Su Fong Da's price? Then why do you want to change my abode? It's a young master from Zhongxian. He has a great background and has taken a fancy to Su Fong Da's abode. He's willing to pay double the price as compensation. Su Fong's tone immediately turned displeased. He then said indifferently, so it's because of my status as Su Fong that I don't have the right to stay in this abode, is it? The upper echelon quickly said, we wouldn't dare. It's just that. Young Master Yi Feibai comes from the Central Xian Divine Region's 5 divine families. His identity is extraordinary. He came to Dongxian to play and couldn't return to Zhongxian to participate in the Jiuquan's heavenly selection, so he planned to enter the Blood Valley. Without waiting for the upper echelon of the Chamber of Commerce to finish speaking, Su Fong said coldly, sorry, even if the exalted venerable spring and autumn comes, I won't change my abode. The Chamber of Commerce executive had no choice but to leave in embarrassment. Inside the Chamber of Commerce, there was a private room used to entertain VIPs. It was a young man in white who was only 18 or 19 years old. He had a slender and handsome face and 2 sword-like eyebrows. His eyes were sharp and fierce, and there was always a trace of an unruly smile on the corner of his mouth. A young man sat opposite the white-clothed young man. It was Dongxian Jun. Behind the white-clothed young man stood an ordinary red-haired old man. However, the old man's aura was ethereal, as though he had fused with the surrounding space. He was actually a peerless expert who had surpassed the Tao Lord realm, and he was at least a sector lord. Such a powerful old man was actually following behind the white-clothed young man like a follower. It could be seen that the white-clothed young man's identity was indeed shocking. Just as he was conversing with Dong Xianjun, the white-clothed young man suddenly raised his sword-like eyebrows. Dong Xianjun said in surprise, "Young Master Yi, what's the matter?" The white-clothed young man's lips curled into a cold smile. "I didn't expect that in the heaven-forsaken desolate region, there would still be people who don't give me face." Su Fong. Interesting. A very obscure smug look flashed across Dong Xianjun's deep eyes. He said that Su Fong thinks that they have contributed in stopping the invasion of the foreign races, and they don't even care about Lord Hong Daoyuan of the Heaven's Fate stage. Young Master Yi Feibai is from the Supreme Yi clan of the Middle Profound Realm. How would a frog at the bottom of the well, like Su Fong, know about the reputation of the Yi clan? It's not strange that they don't give you face. Yi Feibai snorted and said, "Su Fong, it's just an abode. I don't care about it. I have a mobile abode. How can the abode of the Chamber of Commerce be compared to it? I only want that abode to settle down the people below. Since Su Fong doesn't want to give it up, then forget it." Dong Xianjun was very disappointed, but he didn't show it on his face. He smiled and praised. "Young Master Yi Feibai is so magnanimous. No wonder you're from the Middle Profound Yi clan." Yi Feibai glanced at Dong Xianjun and smiled arrogantly. "Dong Xianjun, I know that you've been thwarted by Su Fong. You just want to use me to help you vent your anger." Dong Xianjun smiled embarrassedly. He didn't expect Yi Feibai to be so astute. He could see through his thoughts at a glance. Yi Feibai then nodded and said, "However, if we can meet in the Blood Valley, this young master would like to see what kind of person Su Fong, who was praised to the heavens by the cultivators of the heaven-forsaken desolate region, is. At the same time, I can help you vent your anger." Dong Xianjun was overjoyed. He cupped his fists and thanked. "Thank you, young Master Yi." 100 years passed in the blink of an eye. During this time, the East Profound Heaven Pavilion not only announced the detailed rules of the elimination round, but also announced the rewards for the cultivators who passed the elimination round. Those who passed the elimination round and entered the elite round would receive generous rewards and the attention of the major forces. Those who performed outstandingly would gain both fame and fortune. However, these rewards were only for ordinary cultivators. They weren't very attractive to the disciples from the major forces. Su Fong wouldn't care about these rewards either. In the sky above Daoless City, the experts of the Heaven Pavilion created a 1,000-mile-long scroll. It was the chosen god list used to announce the results of the participants. For ordinary cultivators, if they could appear on the chosen god list, even if it was just a flash in the pan, it was enough for them to brag about for the rest of their lives. The Jiuxuan Chosen God Elimination round begins now. Those who want to participate in the elimination round, activate your chosen god token and enter the Blood Valley. I wish you all good luck in advance. The voice of the East Profound Heaven Pavilion expert, Tuo Qianji, resounded throughout the entire heaven-forsaken wilderness. Swoosh! Swoosh! Countless cultivators entered the Blood Valley from various places in the heaven-forsaken wilderness after activating their chosen god tokens. There were also some cultivators, especially those who were confident in their strength, who were not in a hurry to enter the Blood Valley. They planned to wait until the elimination round in the Blood Valley had progressed to a certain extent before entering the Blood Valley. There were also some cultivators who couldn't make it to the heaven-forsaken wilderness because of the long journey. As long as they entered the Blood Valley before the elimination round ended, their results would still be recognized. Su Fong sat cross-legged in his cave abode and cultivated. He didn't care about the elimination round. Suddenly, Su Fong, who was sitting cross-legged in the time array, suddenly raised his eyebrows. A fierce aura flashed in his eyes as he quickly passed through the array and flew out of the cave abode. Whoosh! A thought flashed and turned into Qin Heng's shadow. Qin Heng had been protecting Xuanqin and traveling in other places in the heaven-forsaken wilderness. Now that he had suddenly returned, this thought looked very blurry. He could barely maintain his human form. Su Fong shouted, "What happened?" The shadow formed by Qin Heng's thoughts said urgently, "Master, something bad has happened. Mistress encountered an expert on her way back to Dallas City. 3 of her subordinates died. Mistress is now trapped. Where is she? Who did it? Su Fang's heart suddenly sank. He originally thought that nothing could happen to Xuanxin in the heaven-forsaken wilderness and with an expert accompanying her. He didn't expect that something really happened. It could be said that this was an unexpected disaster. It's not far from Dallas City. I don't know where the expert who attacked her came from. I want to see who dares to attack my Dao companion in the heaven-forsaken wilderness. Su Fang's heart burned with anger. Then he used the burning light escape technique and rushed out of Dallas City. After half an hour, Su Fang arrived in the void outside Dallas City. He fixed his eyes on it. A giant ship that was thousands of feet long was floating in the void. It emitted a shocking aura of Xianbao. The dazzling Xianguang shone for thousands of miles. It was impossible not to attract attention. This Xianbao flying ship was a king-grade Xianbao that surpassed the peak of the supreme grade. It was definitely not something that an ordinary cultivator could own. Even if an ordinary cultivator had such a Xianbao, they could not bear the shocking consumption of energy needed to operate the flying ship. Qin Heng's thought transmitted his primordial spirit to Su Fang. Master, it's this flying ship. When we were protecting Mistress, the people on the flying ship discovered the ancestral dragon. They suddenly suppressed the ancestral dragon and said that they wanted to use it as a mount. I reported Master's name, who knew that the flying ship would suddenly erupt with the divine power of a formation and trap us in the formation. I was lucky enough to break out of the shackles and was able to escape to report to Master. Su Fang said, "It seems that the people on the flying ship are here for me. Moreover, according to the divine power of the flying ship's formation, the reason why your thought could break out of the shackles was not because of luck. The people on the flying ship deliberately let you escape." Qin Heng was shocked. Could they have deliberately lured Master here? Who are these cultivators to be so arrogant? No matter who they are, I won't allow them to be arrogant in the heaven-forsaken wilderness. I, Su Fang, will never let them off for killing my subordinates and attacking my Dao companion. Su Fang was about to charge towards the flying ship with a fierce killing intent. Suddenly, the Xianguang on the heavenly ship flashed. More than 10 figures were swept out by the Xianguang. Among them, there were 3 women. They were Xuanxin, Zhong Biyun, and Qiu Shuiqing. The others were the cultivators that Su Fang sent to protect Xuanxin. Qin Heng's original body was also present. However, the ancestral dragon and the other 3 subordinates were nowhere to be seen. Su Fang's figure flashed and quickly arrived in front of Xuanxin. QL11 seeing Xuanxin, Su Fang could not suppress the anger in his heart. Xuanxin did not seem to be injured. However, the white jade mask on her face had disappeared. On the face that was revealed, there was an additional black leaf pattern between her eyebrows. It was extremely strange and ugly, completely destroying Xuanxin's peerless beauty. Su Fang. Seeing Su Fang, Xuanxin, who had a strong Dao heart, also had red eyes. My face, Su Fang sensed it. His eyebrows immediately rose like swords. It turned out that the black leaf pattern on Xuanxin's face was an extremely powerful imprint. It was very difficult to remove. In other words, it was equivalent to Xuanxin being disfigured. How could Su Fang not be angry? Su Fang did not ask what happened. If someone dared to humiliate Xuanxin, he would just kill them. There was no need to know the reason. More than 100 miles away from the flying ship, Su Fang stood in the air and said in a voice full of killing intent, "Whoever wants to see me, Su Fang, can directly go to Wudao City to find me. Why are you targeting my family?" Chapter 28:12. Yi Fei Bai. Su Fang was stunned for a moment before recalling that young Master Yi Fei Bai from one of Middle Xian's 5 divine tribes had once wanted to rent the cave residence he was currently living in, but he had been rejected. What a coincidence! Yi Fei Bai's voice continued. This young master has come to Dongxian for a tour this time. I've long heard that the Eastern Xian divine domain has produced an extraordinary genius, so I wanted to meet you. Coincidentally, the divine dragon under your command is extraordinary, so this young master caught it as a mount and brought you here to see how extraordinary you are." Su Fang's deep eyes were brimming with cold, killing intent. "Yi Fei Bai, the mark on my Tao companion's face, was it also your doing?" "That's right. This reputed one saw that your Tao companion had a peerless beauty, but she was only a false god. How could a false god be worthy of such a beauty? I might as well destroy it." Yi Fei Bai's light voice came from inside the airship. Then he smiled proudly. "The mark on your Tao companion's face was left by this young master's ultimate skill, Blackwood Palm. Even if she dies, it can't be erased. I wonder if you'll still treat her as your Tao companion after she's turned from a peerless beauty to an ugly monster." Su Fang's eyes grew colder. "There's no enmity between us. Why are you doing this? You're from Middle Xian Divine Domain's Divine Cultivation Tribe. Are you taking revenge on me because I didn't give up my cave residence?" "That's not the case. This young master is magnanimous. I won't take revenge on you for such a small matter. This young master is just teaching you a lesson, to let you know that ants should have the awareness of ants. Savior of the human race. Ha! This young master doesn't like it when I hear it. Besides, this young master came to Dongxian this time because I owe a favor to a friend of Tiange, so I'm teaching you a lesson on behalf of that friend. Dongxian Jun." Su Fang understood immediately. Yi Fei Bai's voice came through the airship's barrier. "This young master is about to enter the Blood Valley to train. I don't have time to waste on an ant like you. This young master is in a good mood today, and I don't want to kill anyone." "Scram! You don't want to kill anyone, but I want to kill someone today." Su Fang shouted coldly, grabbing hundreds of sword energy and executing the sword art of 6 harmonies, turning into a sword array that attacked the airship. Boom! Boom! When the sword formation struck the flying boat's barrier, it only caused the barrier to tremble, but it didn't break at all. A dragonfly trying to shake an iron pillar. "You overestimate yourself." Yi Fei Bai sneered disdainfully. "Go, chase this fly away. It's time for this young master to enter the Blood Valley." Whoosh! A thought flew out of the flying boat's enchantment and instantly turned into a huge tree that covered the sky. Countless branches intertwined, shackling the Su Fang in the center. "Chi! Chi!" The branches waved and stabbed towards Su Fang. "A mere thought of a Taoist master wants to deal with my Su Fang? Heaven-piercing Blood King Vine." Su Fang activated the sky-piercing Blood King Rattan. A blood-red vine emerged from his right hand and quickly entangled the incoming tree branch. In the blink of an eye, the tree branch formed by his thoughts was sucked clean. Whoosh! The Blood King vine directly pierced through the shackles of the thought, and then, in turn, wrapped around the countless branches formed by the thought and wantonly devoured it. Soon, the thought was completely devoured. Yi Fei Bai's astonished voice rang out. "Sky-piercing blood vine? You're actually raising sky-piercing blood vines? Interesting. Just a little interesting." Su Fang revealed a cold and domineering smile. He took a step forward and arrived 1,000 feet away from the flying boat. With a wave of his right arm, the blood-red vine wriggled out like a blood-red python and attached itself to the enchantment outside the flying boat. QL 11 Chi. 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 Countless blood-red threads gushed out from the blood-red vine and quickly seeped into the enchantment, madly devouring the enchantment's energy. This flying boat was a King Grade Xian Bao, and it was also a mobile cave. Although it didn't have any offensive capabilities, its defense was astonishing. Not to mention a Taoist master. Even if a Taoist master personally attacked, it would be difficult to shake the enchantment in the slightest. However, Su Fang's sky-piercing Blood King vine was so extraordinary that it easily seeped into the enchantment and continuously devoured it. Sooner or later, it would break the enchantment. What kind of sky-piercing Blood King vine is this? It can actually destroy this young master's treasure boat? Yi Fei Bai was obviously astonished. No wonder Dongxian Jun suffered a loss in your hands. But so what? Yi Fei Bai first snorted disdainfully, then flew out of the treasured boat. He wasn't alone. There were more than 30 cultivators following behind him. Su Fang's divine light swept over Yi Fei Bai and the cultivators behind him, and a look of astonishment instantly appeared in his eyes. Yi Feibai looked like he was only 18 or 19 years old, but he was actually an intermediate Taoist master. His aura was really powerful. No wonder he was so arrogant. There were more than 30 subordinates behind him, and except for a red-haired old man who was a peerless expert who surpassed the Taoist master level, the others were all Taoists. As expected of a young master from one of the 5 great divine clans of the central profound divine domain, he actually had so many experts with him. Yi Feibai indeed had the right to be arrogant. This young master is going to enter the Blood Valley. I'll leave this person to you. Let him live for now. When this young master comes out of the Blood Valley, I want to see this person shackled in the treasured boat. Yi Feibai said to the experts under his command. Yes, more than 30 Daozu experts bowed to Yi Feibai in unison. Be careful. This person has a luck spider. Remember, don't hurt the luck spider. It's the supreme fortune of this young master coming to the eastern profound divine domain this time. Yi Feibai took out the heaven's chosen token and warned his subordinates. As it turned out, the main reason he attacked Su Fang wasn't because of Su Fang's reputation, nor was it because of Dong Xinjun. It was because of Su Fang's luck spider. After that, Yi Feibai activated the heaven's chosen token, released a divine aura, and disappeared into the void. Then, a ray of bloody light surged out from the void and enveloped Yi Feibai. After that, it tore through the air and disappeared without a trace. From the beginning until the end, Yi Feibai didn't even look at Su Fang. It was as if looking at Su Fang would tarnish his eyes. Suppress him. The red-haired elder didn't attack. He naturally knew Su Fang's identity. If he personally attacked Su Fang, he would be punished by the heavenly laws of the Jiushuan. At his command, the 3 Tao Lords released their thoughts, which turned into palm prints, ropes, and cages that pressed down on Su Fang. You're courting death. Su Fang released a dozen or so thoughts with a whoosh. These thoughts all came from the profound Yang body and contained the profound Yang Taoist rhyme. As soon as Su Fang released them, they immediately turned into bright red suns. A Tao Lord cultivator can release a dozen or so thoughts at once without expending much energy. This Su Fang can barely be called a genius. The Taoist rhyme, dermic power, and intent contained in these thoughts are all extraordinary. The ability he releases should be quite extraordinary. Yi Feibai's subordinates were actually pointing at Su Fang's thoughts and snorting disdainfully. Boom, boom, boom. The divine suns formed by the thoughts suddenly exploded, turning into thousands of dazzling divine lights that instantly lit up the endless void. Apart from the red-haired elder, the eyes of the 30 Tao Lords were burned by the divine might contained in the divine light. As if they were burning, they let out miserable cries. The divine might contain the power to blind people and even temporarily make them lose their thoughts and other senses. Caught off guard, the 30 Tao Lords all suffered a great loss. The thoughts that the 3 Tao Lords released to restrain Su Fang were also shattered because of the chaos in his Tao heart. The technique that Su Fang used was a divine ability from the Yang refinement art, bright Yang, dazzling flash. This was a technique that used the profound Yang divine might to attack the enemy's vision and senses. Although it couldn't kill people, it could make people lose their senses for a short period of time, turning them blind and deaf. In the next moment, Su Fang activated the blood demon body and released a series of thoughts that turned into slaughter sword chi and formed a sword formation that swept towards the Tao Lords under Yi Feibai. Pooh! 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 Those Tao Lords' eyes were burned by the bright, young, dazzling flash, and their Tao hearts were unstable. Under the impact of Su Fang's slaughter sword formation, 5 Tao Lords' bodies and Tao hearts were instantly shattered by the sword chi, whereas the bodies and Tao hearts of the other 10 Tao Lords were shaken. What a despicable kid. Join forces and suppress him. The red-haired elder was furious. He released a strand of thought that transformed into a ray of green light that flashed past those Tao Lords, and it swept away all the injuries caused by the bright, young, dazzling flash and the slaughter sword formation. After that, he ordered those Dao Lords to attack Su Fong together. Over 30 Dao Lords and an expert that surpasses the Dao Lord realm. It's not a waste of the treasures that senior brother gave me. Su Fong laughed coldly, and then he flipped his right hand, causing a talisman to appear on his palm. This talisman was extraordinary, and it was given to him by the Wine Saint before he left. It contained the Wine Saint's thoughts, and it was capable of unleashing the Wine Saint's strongest attack. At this moment, Su Fong was burning with rage because of Xuan Xin's disfigurement. Moreover, he was facing so many Dao Lords, and there was even a peerless expert that surpassed the Dao Lord realm. So, he directly took out the talisman that the Wine Saint gave him. It was actually quite a waste to use the Wine Saint's strongest attack against Yi Feibai's subordinates, and it was like using a divine martial cannon to kill flies. The reason Su Fong was willing to take it out was because Shi Xian Daozu seemed to be slightly displeased when the Wine Saint gave him these 3 talismans. Obviously, he didn't want Su Fong to rely too much on external forces, so Su Fong didn't cherish these 3 talismans. As soon as the talisman was crushed, a dense and pungent smell of alcohol instantly suffused the air. Under the control of Su Fong's thoughts, it enveloped all of Yi Feibai's subordinates, including the red-haired old man. The smell of alcohol contained a unique aura of the Tao, and its might was strange and formidable. It wasn't just the bodies and avatars of those Dao Lords. Even their Tao hearts, wills, and quintessent souls seemed as if they were drunk, and they immediately lost consciousness. They were just like drunkards that clearly possessed normal auras, yet their consciousness had been completely paralyzed. Chapter 28:13. The rune talisman given by the Wine Saint was just this tyrannical. A mere rune talisman was able to turn a powerful expert that surpassed a Dao Lord and over 30 other Dao Lords into a group of drunkards that were completely at the mercy of Su Fong. Su Fong was also shocked and astonished by the powerful and peculiar power of the rune talisman. He released a divine aura that sucked all of Yi Feibai's subordinates into the Dao Lord Palace. He sensed that these cultivators wouldn't be able to wake up in a short period of time. Even that red-haired old man would probably need at least 1,000,000 years before he could wake up on his own. Su Fong completely dispelled the idea of shackling these cultivators as slaves. However, he couldn't just let them go to waste. Su Fong's heaven-piercing Blood King, Vine, needed to continuously devour life and blood energy in order to grow and improve. Su Fong was just worrying about where to find the nutrients for the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine to improve, and these cultivators happened to be readily available. Moreover, Su Fong didn't plan to suck these cultivators dry in one go. Instead, he wanted to rear them like pigs and sheep. The strength of these cultivators was extraordinary. Except for one expert that was comparable to the master of the profound world, the rest were all Dao Lords. They possessed boundless life, energy, and astonishing recovery ability. They were no different from being unconscious after being drunk, but their life force was still there. After devouring their life and blood energy, they would quickly recover. Moreover, there were so many of them that it was enough for the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine to grow. Just like this, Su Fong suddenly had over 30 blood pigs. In the future, he wouldn't have to worry about the life and blood energy that the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine needed. At this moment, he had fused with the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine. The life and blood energy that the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine devoured would also allow Su Fong's life to continuously transform. In this way, Su Fong's speed of improvement was naturally incomparably shocking. Moreover, the consequences of using the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique were no longer as serious to Su Fong as before. Yi Feibai, I'll let you live in the Blood Valley for a while. When you come out of the Blood Valley, you'll die. Seeing the black mark on Xuanxin's face, Ancestral Gragon being restrained by Yi Feibai and losing 3 of his subordinates, Su Fong's joy of obtaining more than 30 blood pigs was replaced by a sharp killing intent. Looking at the airship, Su Fong's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Let's take Yi Feibai's Xianbao first. Su Fong immediately released a thought that enveloped the Xianbao. Who knew the Xianbao was indeed a king-grade Xianbao? Seeing that the situation was not good, the original soul in the Xianbo controlled the Xianbo and quickly shrank to less than 3 feet in size. The Xianbo flashed and was about to escape into nothingness. The Xianbo that I, Su Fong, have set my eyes on has never been able to escape. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. He had the purple fate avatar and had the ability to control all kinds of Xianbo coupled with the heaven's secret life shrinking technique. There was no Xianbo that could escape from his grasp. Whoosh, a mysterious purple light flashed from between Su Fong's eyebrows and immediately enveloped the Xianbo. A will and power that could control the Xianbo and force it to submit rushed into the interior of the Xianbo. The airship Xianbo was indeed extraordinary. It madly collided with the divine power released by the purple fate avatar, trying to break free from the shackles of the divine power. Amazing. As expected of a king-grade Xianbo, even the purple fate avatar can't suppress it. Looks like I have to put in some effort. Su Fong wasn't surprised that the airship Xianbo was so difficult to subdue. Instead, he was delighted. Without hesitation, he used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique. It wasn't any other ability of the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique, but the life-pulling karma thread. The Xianbo wasn't much different from a human. Other than not having a physical body, it also had self-awareness. From the day it was born, it had its own destiny. The life-pulling karma thread condensed from the aura of Tao ignored the Xianbo's defenses. It passed through the layers of formations and landed on a phantom within the airship. It was the original spirit of the airship. It looked like a white-haired old man. The life-pulling karma thread landed on the phantom's body, firmly entangling its ethereal destiny. The life-pulling karma line trembled slightly, and the struggling shadow immediately calmed down. At this moment, the fate of the airship's original spirit and the entire airship was firmly controlled by Su Fong. This method of fusion was much more stable than using blood essence to fuse with the Xianbo unless Su Fong died. The Xianbo wouldn't be able to escape Su Fong's control. Next, Su Fong activated the Celestial Yang avatar and released the Celestial Yang flame. It completely refined the blood essence that Yi Fei Bai had fused with the Xianbo. From now on, the king-grade Xianbo no longer belonged to Yi Fei Bai. It belonged to Su Fong. Subduing the king-grade Xianbo had cost Su Fong quite a bit. A few strands of white hair grew on his temples. Su Fong immediately activated the heaven-piercing Blood King vine and wantonly devoured the blood essence of the blood pigs. It then seeped into Su Fong's body. The blood essence swept through his body and burned into the flame of life. It allowed Su Fong's depleted life force to quickly recover. Su Fong sucked the flying vessel into his Taoist palace. A thought entered the Xianbo's space and communicated with the origin spirit. He found out that the Xianbo was called the Peach Soul Sky Crossing Vessel. It was made from the Peach Soul Sky Crossing Vessel that grew in the depths of the chaos. Not only did the Peach Soul Sky Crossing Vessel have the ability to travel through the chaos, it also had the effect of increasing one's comprehension and cultivation with half the effort. The Peach Soul Sky Crossing Vessel is indeed a good treasure. I'll take this Xianbo as a little interest. Obtaining the king-grade Xianbo didn't reduce Su Fong's killing intent towards Yi Fei Bai by much. QL11, he separated a dozen thoughts and used them to cultivate the hand seals and formations inside the Peach Soul Sky Crossing Vessel. Then, Su Fong sucked Xuanxin, Qin Heng, and the others into his Taoist palace. Xuanxin, just watch. After I've dealt with my enemies, I'll find a way to help you recover your looks. Su Fong used the incandescent escape art and headed straight for Dallas City. After entering Dallas City, Su Fong didn't return to his residence, but flew towards the depths of Dallas World instead. In the depths of Dallas World, the dojos of the Dallas sect were now occupied by cultivators from Dongxuan's various forces as palaces to prepare for the Jiuxuan's heavenly selection. Almost all the cultivators from the various forces had experience in the Blood Valley. Many of them had the title of Divine Warrior of Sanguine Slaughter and didn't need to participate in the initial elimination rounds. Dong Xianjun was one of them. Su Fong used his great perfection sensory ability and, at the same time, used the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to project his senses out. Soon, he caught Dong Xianjun's presence in a mountain range. With a flash, Su Fong flew towards the mountain range. There was a strong boundary outside the mountain range. Su Fong had to stop. Taoist Sex Dojo is here. It is now the place where Dongshuan's geniuses cultivate in seclusion. Who dares trespass? Dozens of thoughts flashed out of the boundary, turning into the silhouettes of Taoist sex experts. Coincidentally, one of the powerful thoughts came from Taoist sex left emissary, Fan Wuliang. Su Fong had seen this person once in the carefree divine pavilion, so of course he recognized him. Su Fong Da. When emissary Fan saw that it was Su Fong, the silhouette formed by his thoughts almost collapsed. In emissary Fan's mind, Su Fong was the nemesis of the Taoist sex left emissary. How could he not be afraid? Su Fong Da. I wonder why Sir has come to Taoist Sex Dojo. Emissary Fan trembled, afraid that Su Fong had come to find trouble with him because of the incident in the carefree divine pavilion. Su Fong said coldly, "Open the boundary. I want to visit a genius of the Heaven Pavilion." Which genius of the Heaven Pavilion does Sir want to visit? Why? Are you also going to ask about my business? I dare not. Emissary Fan did not dare to delay. He quickly opened the boundary passage and let Su Fong in. Su Fong went straight to the dojo where Dong Xianjun was. When Emissary Fan saw this, his heart suddenly thumped. It's over. Su Fong flew to the sky above the dojo. He waved his hand and rolled out a black thing, smashing it toward the boundary outside the dojo. The black thing rapidly grew in size as it fell. Finally, it turned into a huge black rock that was hundreds of feet tall and smashed into the boundary with a boom. This rock was transformed from the stone essence. After years of constantly absorbing the essence of the earth element, its strength had greatly increased. When it smashed into the boundary, it was like a huge mountain falling. It caused the boundary to flicker and shatter layer by layer. The entire dojo was shaking violently. Su Fong then grabbed the air and sucked the stone essence into his body. He looked down at the dojo and said in a voice full of killing intent, "Dong Xianjun, get out here." His voice was like a sudden clap of thunder. "Su Fong, you've gone too far." Dong Xianjun flew into the air from the inside of the dojo with towering rage. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many cultivators flew out from other dojos as well. They were all genius disciples from the major factions of the Eastern Xian divine domain. Gu Tianqi, Dong Xianzheng, Ling Xingqian, and the others were among them. Seeing Su Fong come in anger and attack Dong Xianjun's dojo directly, many geniuses were shocked beyond belief. The Jiuquan Heavenly Selection was a once-in-a-lifetime event. Which genius wasn't preparing for the elite competition? Even if they had great grudges, they would put them aside and put the Jiuquan Heavenly Selection first. Su Fong had come to Dong Xianjun's dojo to cause trouble when the Jiuquan Heavenly Selection had just begun. This puzzled many people. Gu Tianqi asked, "What happened, Su Fong?" Su Fong pointed at Dong Xianjun and said coldly, "This despicable man has been using all sorts of despicable methods against me ever since he lost to me in the Blood Valley. I've been holding back all this time. This time, he actually instigated Yi Feibai of the Central Profound Divine Region to ruin the face of my Tao companion and kill the experts under my command. Does he really think that I, Su Fong, am a soft persimmon that anyone can bully?" Realization dawned on the geniuses as they looked at Dong Xianjun with disdain. Even some of the Eastern Xian Divine Pavilion's disciples had the same look. Although these geniuses were all unconvinced by Su Fong, they were still geniuses after all. They had their own pride and would prove themselves with their strength, but it was shameful to play dirty tricks behind their backs. Besides, Su Fong was still a Dongxian cultivator, no matter how much others hated him. Dong Xianjun had gone overboard by instigating outsiders to attack Su Fong's Tao companion and subordinates. Dong Xianjun said angrily, "Su Fong, you're slandering me. How could this reputed one do something so despicable? Chapter 28:14. Gu Tianqi's words made the surrounding geniuses burst into laughter. Dong Qian and Dong Qian couldn't help but laugh out loud. They had experienced Dong Qian-jun's overbearingness and despicableness before. They had offended Dong Qian-jun in the Blood Valley's second-star killer city because of Su Fong. As soon as they left the Blood Valley, they immediately returned to the eastern profound heaven pavilion as they were afraid of Dong Qian-jun's revenge. They had only returned to the heaven-forsaken desolate region when the heavenly selection began in the Jiuquan. How could they not be pleased when they saw the once awe-inspiring Dong Qian-jun being attacked by Su Fong and mocked by Gu Tianqi? Everyone's gazes and laughter made Dong Qian-jun feel like a clown. His handsome face was instantly shrouded in a haze. However, Gu Tianqi was more famous than him. Gu Tianqi was also much stronger than him. What Gu Tianqi said was the truth, so he couldn't refute Gu Tianqi. Therefore, he vented his anger on Su Fong. You're the one who's arrogant and reckless enough to provoke young Master Yi Fei Bai. You don't dare to look for young Master Yi Fei Bai, so you came to slander me. Oomph. Do you think I'm easy to bully? Do you think the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion is easy to bully? You don't dare to look for young Master Yi Fei Bai? Su Fong sneered. He waved his hand and a figure appeared. It was the red-haired elder beside Yi Fei Bai. However, this red-haired elder whose cultivation had surpassed the Tao Lord was like a living corpse at this moment. He had lost his previous awe-inspiring aura. Then, Su Fong grabbed another Xianbao. It was the Peach Soul Sky crossing vessel. Dong Qian-jun recognized Yi Fei Bai's subordinate in the Xianbao. His expression changed instantly as he shivered. Impossible. This is impossible. Su Fong has lost his 6th extreme Tao Saint celestial body. How can he still be so powerful? He can even suppress an expert who has surpassed the Tao Lord. How can young Master Yi Fei Bai's mobile cave dwelling be robbed? Although the other geniuses couldn't recognize the red-haired elder and the Peach Soul Sky crossing vessel, they could tell that the elder was a peerless expert who had surpassed the Tao Lord. From the Xianbao's aura, but the Soul Xianbao and the others were and young Master Yi Fei Bai. And when he leaves the blood, and as well, he will soul bow. Him too dies him. His T-test Xianbao S. You say I don't dare? Dong Qian-jun shuddered and subconsciously stepped back. Bracing himself, he asked, "What do you want?" "Of course. I'm going to kill you," Su Fong said in a chilling voice. Dong Qian-jun was enraged. "Su Fong, don't push me too far. I'm not a pushover. I don't care if you're a pushover or a pushover. How dare you humiliate my Su Fong's family? I'll beat you to a pulp." Su Fong pounced towards Dong Qian-jun in a ferocious manner. "Umph. I'd like to see what else you can rely on to be so arrogant." Dong Qian-jun immediately released his 5-element sword body. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Hundreds of thoughts condensed into a sword pill. They released streaks of sword chi that intertwined and turned into a 5-element sword formation that charged at Su Fong. Bright sun dazzling flash. Su Fong activated his Xian Yang celestial body. He released dozens of thoughts, which turned into a fiery red divine sun. Then, a blinding golden light burst out. Ever since Dong Qian-jun was defeated in the Blood Valley, he had studied Su Fong deeply. He was very clear about the various divine powers that Su Fong had mastered. Su Fong's sudden display of the supernatural power from the extreme Tao Black Yang tactic caught him off guard. His Dharmakaya and physical body felt a burning pain in their eyes. The world they sensed turned red, and the attack of the sword formation also became sluggish. Yang extermination, divine fist. Su Fong punched out, stirring up a gust of strong wind. It turned into a whirlpool and swept towards Dong Qian-jun. He wanted to kill Dong Qian-jun, so he used a bright sun dazzling flash to deceive Dong Qian-jun's senses. What he used now was the real killer move. Yang extermination, divine fist. This was another supreme divine power that Su Fong had comprehended while cultivating the extreme Xianyang tactic all these years. It was 10 times or even 100 times more powerful than the bright sun dazzling flash. The extreme Xianyang tactic was a supreme divine power that could control the extreme yang energy. Yang energy was the source of life for all things in the world. Meanwhile, the Yang extermination divine fist was a supreme divine power that could cut off the Yang aspect of all things. It was a supreme divine power that could destroy life. The whirlpool that contained Su Fong's thoughts released a terrifying Taoist aura and power that could devour Yang energy and destroy life. As it spun, Dong Xianjun's 5 elements sword formation collapsed. The whirlpool wrapped around Dong Xianjun's 5 elements sword body and spun. The 5 elements also contained yin and yang. Su Fong's yang extermination divine fist destroyed the yang aspect of the 5 element sword body, causing yin and yang to collapse. Boom! Dong Xianjun's 5 elements sword body collapsed layer by layer. In the end, it shattered and turned into a pile of dust. Dong Xianjun's most commonly used avatar was also destroyed by Su Fong's punch. Dong Xianjun's physical body was also heavily injured after one of his avatars was destroyed. He spat out a mouthful of essence blood, and his aura weakened. The genius of Dong Xianjun's heavenly pavilion actually had one of his avatars destroyed by Su Fong. Is Su Fong too strong, or is Dong Xianjun undeserving of his reputation? Formidable. Too formidable. Even a peak Tao Lord would be annihilated by a single punch of this divine ability that Su Fong executed. The geniuses in the surroundings were in an uproar, and they were extremely shocked and surprised. Unexpectedly, even Gu Qianqi had never imagined that Su Fong would be able to destroy one of Dong Xianjun's avatars as soon as he attacked. Su Fong, you destroyed my avatar. I won't rest until you're dead. Dong Xianjun had gone completely mad after one of his avatars was destroyed, and he let out a furious roar that shook the heavens and the earth. Dong Xianjun's ambition was higher than the heavens, and he'd set his ambition a long time ago. He wanted to cultivate 6 avatars before advancing into the Tao Lord realm. Thus, Dong Xianjun had always suppressed his cultivation at the Tao Lord realm and hadn't broken through to the Tao Lord realm. How difficult was it for a cultivator to cultivate a Dharma body? Talent, resources, and providence were all indispensable. Now that Su Fong had destroyed one of Dong Xianjun's avatars, it was equivalent to cutting off his cultivation path. It was almost impossible for him to cultivate again. How could Dong Xianjun not be furious after such a heavy loss? Won't rest until you're dead? You instigated Yi Feibai to kill my subordinates, capture the ancestral dragon, and destroy the face of my Tao companion. Do you think I'll let you go? Su Fong revealed a cold smile and activated the heaven-piercing Blood King vine. At the same time, he released the Spider King and was about to kill Dong Xianjun in one fell swoop. Su Fong was like this. Whoever dared to touch his family was crossing his bottom line, and he would kill them at all costs. Dong Xianjun had the Calamity avatar, so he could naturally sense the presence of the Spider King. His expression changed instantly, and he shouted in anger, Su Fong, how dare you use the Spider King against me? Aren't you afraid of the punishment from the Heaven Pavilion? Su Fong stopped. A dignified voice laced with anger rang out. With a flash of divine light, an apparition formed by the will appeared in front of Su Fong. A terrifying will came crashing down. Su Fong staggered and retreated continuously. The heaven-piercing Blood King vine that was about to be released from his body was also forcefully suppressed. The Spider King was also trembling under the frightening will. It was a white-haired elder in a gray robe. Although it was only an apparition formed by the will, it exuded an unparalleled majesty. Just the pressure of the will alone made Su Fong completely lose his ability. Tuo Qianji. This elder was Dongxian Pavilion's expert, Tuo Qianji, who was presiding over Jiuxuan's heaven selection this time. Tuo Qianji's brows furrowed as he shouted at Su Fong. Su Fong, it's not enough for you to kill Dong Xianjun's avatar. You even want to use the Spider King to deal with him. How arrogant and despotic. Do you think that you can act so recklessly just because you've stopped the invasion of the foreign tribes and contributed greatly to Dongxian? Dong Xinjun was relieved when he saw that he had a powerful backer. His deep eyes were filled with pride. Under the pressure of Tuo Qianji's will, Su Fang's jade-colored Dao heart was also trembling, as if it would shatter at any time. He raised his head with difficulty and said through gritted teeth, Dong Xianjun instigated Yi Fei Bai, destroyed my Dao companion's face, and killed my subordinates. The one who is arrogant and despotic is him, not me, Su Fang. How dare you quibble in front of me? Tuo Qianji's white brows raised, about to unleash his thunder of fury. Gu Qianqi cried out loudly, Sir, Dong Xinjun was at fault in this matter. No wonder Su Fang attacked so viciously. Please spare Su Fang this time. How dare a disciple of the three venerable mysterious sects talk nonsense in front of me? Tuo Qianji snorted coldly and waved his sleeves. A palm print appeared in the air and slapped Gu Tianqi's face, sending him flying. Boom! Tuo Qianji's attack on Gu Tianqi immediately triggered the Jiuxuan's heavenly law, causing a thunderous roar from the void. Scram! Tuo Qianji shouted domineeringly. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and a powerful will erupted, suppressing the heavenly law punishment that was brewing. The heavenly court's experts were so domineering that they could even suppress the Jiuxuan's heavenly law. Of course, this was also because he did not kill Gu Qianqi. The power of triggering the Jiuxuan's heavenly law was not strong. Otherwise, with Gu Tianqi's ranking on the heavenly ranking, he would not be able to withstand the heavenly law punishment. However, this person dared to look down on the Jiuxuan's heavenly law. It was enough to show how domineering and powerful this person was. The Eastern mysterious heavenly court is indeed domineering. Su Fang's eyes flashed with determination. 2 runes appeared in his palm. They were the runes given to him by the wine saint. Tuo Qianji looked at Su Fang, his eyes flashing with a domineering light. Suddenly, Tuo Qianji's gaze changed slightly. His gaze on Su Fang turned from sharp and domineering to indifferent. He snorted and said, Since you've contributed to Dongxian, I'll spare you this time. Focus on participating in the Jiuxuan's heavenly selection. If you can't show Dongxuan's might in the finals, I won't spare you. Tuo Qianji's drastic change shocked Su Fang. He did not understand, but he felt that it was impressive. Chapter 28:15. Tuo Qianji was like a completely different person, causing everyone to be baffled. Dong Xinjun, who had been waiting gleefully for Su Fang to be subdued, was dumbfounded by Tuo Qianji's reprimand. Tuo Qianji said majestically, Dong Xinjun, considering that you are also a genius of Heaven Pavilion, I won't punish you this time. However, you're not allowed to leave the training hall for 10,000 years before the start of the elite competition. I want to see your performance in the Jiuxuan God's Chosen. If you embarrass Heaven Pavilion, I won't let you off easily. Yes, Dong Xinjun was filled with depression and humiliation, but he had no choice but to lower his head obediently. Su Fang had come knocking on his door and killed a Dharma body. He was even reprimanded by Tuo Qianji and grounded for 10,000 years. How could he not feel aggrieved? However, Dong Xinjun had to obey Tuo Qianji's decision. Gu Tianqi and the other Dongxian cultivators were all shocked. They could not understand what had caused such a drastic change in Tuo Qianji's attitude. Su Fang, why aren't you leaving? What are you still doing here? Tuo Qianji glanced at Su Fang and demanded coldly. Yes, thank you, sir, for upholding justice for this lowly one. Su Fang cupped his fists and bowed before flying out of the training hall. Tuo Qianji transmitted his thoughts. Focus on preparing for the Jiuxuan God's Chosen. Don't go around stirring up trouble. Sir Daozu is watching your performance. Don't disappoint Daozu. Daozu? The Daozu Tuo Qianji was referring to was not Daozu of Shixian, but the supreme of Dongxian. Su Fang would never have thought that Dongxian Daozu was watching him. Obviously, the reason Tuo Qianji was acting like a completely different person was because of Dongxian Daozu's words. With Tuo Qianji's status and strength, only Dong Xiandaozu could make such a huge change in his attitude toward Su Fang. What shocked and confused Su Fang was why Dong Xiandaozu would notice him and speak up for him personally. Who was Dong Xiandaozu? It was not strange that Su Fang stopped the invasion of the foreign tribes and attracted the attention of Dong Xiandaozu. However, it was rather strange for Dong Xiandaozu to speak up for a Dao Lord. After pondering for a while, Su Fang understood. Su Fang had discovered that Great Sun Limitless sect was a faction that had descended into the world. Shi Xiandaozu had once told Dong Xiandaozu. It was not difficult for the latter to discover Shi Xiandaozu's existence. This time, Dong Xiandaozu spoke up because of Shi Xiandaozu and not because of Su Fang. It seems that I have to thank Master again this time. If not for Master, not only would it be difficult for me to achieve what I have now, I would have died long ago. Su Fang was filled with gratitude toward Shi Xiandaozu. At the same time, he felt emotional. At this time, Shi Xiandaozu's voice suddenly sounded in his mind. You have achieved what you have today because of your own efforts. It has little to do with me. Furthermore, you were able to gain my attention because of your own efforts. No matter what, I have to thank Master. If you really want to thank Master, then stand out in Jiushuan's Heaven Chosen. Only then will I be proud. That old man, Dong Xiandaozu, spoke up to stop Tuo Qianji not only because he wanted to return the favor from Great Sun Limitless sect, but also because he wanted to rope you in. You are now a cultivator of the Eastern Xian Divine Domain. If you can stand out in Jiushuan's Heaven Chosen, that old man will also be proud. This disciple understands. Su Fang returned to the cave abode rented by the Chamber of Commerce and released Xuanxin from the Dao Palace. Seeing the black mark on Xuanxin's face and the conflict and pain in her eyes, Su Fang could not help but feel a pang of pain. The anger that had calmed down in his heart burned fiercely again. Su Fang tried all kinds of methods to get rid of the black mark on Xuanxin's face. Unexpectedly, the black mark had merged with Xuanxin's facial muscles and meridians. Moreover, the black mark contained an incomparably strange power. As soon as Su Fang's aura approached, the black mark on the leaf immediately wriggled, wanting to swallow Xuanxin's face and head. Su Fang used all kinds of methods, but to no avail. In the end, he had no choice but to give up. Su Fang comforted her. Xuanxin, don't worry. After another 10,000 years, when Yi Fei Bai comes out of the Blood Valley, I will suppress him. Naturally, I will have a way to restore your face. Xuanxin settled down for a moment and stared at Su Fang. Su Fang, I am not in pain because my face has been destroyed. I just feel that I am useless. It was not easy for me to transcend the low-level universe, but now I have become like this. I am now a burden to you. In the Pansong universe, I used all my strength to try to keep up with your footsteps, but in the end, I still could not catch up to you. Now that we are in the Eastern Profound Divine Realm, the distance between us is increasing. The current you needs me to look up to you. As time passes, we will gradually become people of two different worlds. At that time, even if you do not despise me, I will feel inferior because of it. I am very afraid. I am afraid that one day, the distance between us will become too great. Xuanxin's faint voice made Su Fang's heart grow heavier and heavier. This was the pain of a genius. A genius's growth was too fast. Their family and friends could not keep up with their pace. Because of the gap in strength, they would gradually drift apart. A genius's life was destined to be lonely and lonely. As a genius's family and friends, they would also feel the same pressure. Suddenly, a figure flashed out of Su Fang's body. He did not expect Shi Xiandaozu to appear of his own accord. Shi Xiandaozu looked at Xuanxin with a smile. Su Fang's growth speed in the entire Jiushuan divine realm. Even if he is not a top genius, he is still quite extraordinary. Aren't you looking for trouble if you want to keep up with him? Yes, master. Quickly bow. Su Fang was surprised and happy. He hurriedly sent a message to Xuanxin with his nascent spirit. Shi Xiandaozu would never appear for no reason. He naturally had his reasons for suddenly appearing now. Perhaps it was Xuanxin's supreme fortune. Su Fang naturally would not miss it. Xuanqin hurriedly bowed to Shi Xian's Daozu. Shi Xian's Daozu nodded and said, "Girl, your cultivation talent is just average. If you can reach the level of Dao Master in the future, it will be good fortune. If you want to catch up to Su Fang, you most likely have no hope in this lifetime." Su Fang heard the meaning in Shi Xian's Daozu's words. He also knelt next to Xuanqin. "Master, please bestow divine grace upon Xuanqin." Shi Xian's Daozu was one of the top experts in the Jiuxuan divine realm. With a thought, he could destroy a profound world, and with a thought, he could bestow supreme fortunes upon cultivators. With his strength, it was naturally easy for him to bestow supreme fortunes upon Xuanqin and even change Xuanqin's fate. Shi Xian's Daozu chuckled. "Boy, you really are cunning. If you want me to bestow divine grace upon your Dao companion, it's not impossible. However, there are always conditions for me to do so." Su Fang was surprised and overjoyed. "Master, please speak. This disciple will do his best. If you can be chosen by the heavens in this Jiuxuan divine realm and enter the top 1,000 of the geniuses in the Jiuxuan divine realm, Master will not only restore your Dao companion's appearance, I will also bestow divine grace upon her, cleanse her marrow, and allow her to achieve great things in the future. If you can enter the top 100, Master will not hesitate to use my life force to change her fate. I will also send her to cultivate under a peerless expert, not weaker than Master. In the future, even if her accomplishments in the cultivation path are not as good as yours, they will not be too bad." Shi Xian's Daozu's words caused Su Fang's eyes to flash with vigor. There were as many geniuses in the Jiuxuan divine realm as there were hairs on an ox. It was extremely difficult to enter the top 1,000. Su Fang had never even thought of entering the top 100. It was almost impossible. Shi Xian's Daozu's words gave Su Fang endless motivation. Even if it was more difficult than a mortal ascending to the heavens, he would do his best to try. "You little brat, Master told you to enter the top 1,000 before, but you were still afraid. Now, for a woman, you are willing to risk your life, Shi Xian's Daozu was clearly in a good mood. He laughed and laughed at Su Fang. Then his figure disappeared into nothingness. Jiuxuan Heaven's Chosen, top 100. Su Fang's eyes flashed with determination. Xuanqin's heart was also filled with anticipation. He looked at Su Fang with eyes filled with endless gratitude. In the following days, Su Fang settled down in the time formation and tried his best to break through to the upper level of Dao Lord. This time, he did not consume pills or spiritual objects. Instead, he used a more direct and domineering method to increase his cultivation. Whoosh, Su Fang reached out and grabbed the red-haired old man under Yi Fei Bai out of his body. This red-haired old man's cultivation was even stronger than the master of mystic world. At this moment, he had become Su Fang's blood pig. Heaven-piercing Blood King Vine, devour. Su Fang activated the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine. Vine-shaped blood tattoos immediately appeared on his body from his chest up. His two arms had completely turned into blood vines. Whoosh, whoosh. The blood vines burrowed into the red-haired old man's body, releasing countless blood threads that seeped into the old man's body, Dao Palace, and Dharma body. Hiss! Not only was the red-haired old man's vitality and blood essence crazily devoured by the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine, but the blood threads rushed into Su Fang's body. At this moment, the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine was no longer in the seed state. It had grown into a child. In terms of strength, it was still far from the parent body. It was not even 1/10,000th of the parent body's strength. However, the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's domineering ability was now on display. The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine devoured the red-haired old man's vitality and cultivation, causing its vitality and strength to rapidly increase. Su Fang's fusion with the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine also increased his vitality and cultivation at the same time. Under such conditions, how could Su Fang's cultivation speed not be terrifying? Of course, only those with the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine could cultivate in such a shocking way. QL 11. Chapter 28:16. The reason why Su Fong dared to use the heaven-piercing Blood King vine to wantonly devour the life force and cultivation of those who had surpassed the Downlord realm was because he was confident in doing so. The heaven-piercing Blood King vine's devouring ability could convert the red-haired old man's cultivation and life force into its own strength and life force, and then transfer it to Su Fong. Moreover, the Joshuan limitless scripture that Su Fong cultivated was a heaven-bestowed mystery that touched upon the true essence of the great Tao. This caused Su Fong's cultivation realm to surpass ordinary great Taos. Therefore, he could control and refine the energy he devoured. In addition, there was the colorful Jade Dao heart. Su Fong's colorful Jade Dao heart was extraordinary to begin with. Over the years, he had been constantly tempering his Dao heart with the reincarnation life and death fruit, causing his colorful Jade Dao heart to become even more solid and difficult to shake. It was precisely because of these reasons that Su Fong dared to devour the red-haired old man's life, force, and cultivation without too many scruples. After a round of devouring, the red-haired old man's aura had clearly become dispirited. Su Fong sucked him into his Dao palace and stuffed pills into his mouth for him to recover on his own. Su Fong naturally wouldn't kill such a powerful blood pig in one go. He had to take it slowly and continue devouring after fattening him up. In any case, there were still more than 30 Dao Lords shackling him. If each of them devoured a little, it would be enough for Su Fong to cultivate. Su Fong's method of devouring cultivators' life force and cultivation was actually no different from those evil cultivators. At this moment, Su Fong's Dao heart had been tempered to be incomparably ruthless and cold. Moreover, these were all Yi Feibai's subordinates. Su Fong didn't feel the slightest bit uneasy about devouring them. Just as Su Fong was settling down and cultivating, Law suddenly called out from within the heavenly Dao avatar, Su Fong. Law, what's the matter? Su Fong's thought entered the builder tree space within the heavenly Dao avatar. He didn't expect that Xiao Wanting, Sang Xiao, and Wei Dao would also be there. Luo and the other three had long transcended the low-level universe, and with the help of the godly source and resources provided by Su Fong, they had all successfully passed their tribulations and became Daojin cultivators. Law still had his sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He had a bold and rough square face and was dressed in blood-red clothes. His aura was even more powerful than the other three. This was mainly because he had swallowed a large number of blood evil stones and blood evil pills. Luo said, Su Fong, after much consideration, we've decided to enter the Blood Valley and participate in the Jioshuan's Tian Xian Elimination Tournament. Su Fong Dao was shocked. Although there aren't many true experts in the knockout round, you guys have just advanced. The Blood Valley is still extremely dangerous for you guys. Why do you want to take the risk? Xiao Wanting, Sang Xiao, and Wei Dao were all supreme overlords in the Pansong universe. However, in Joshuan's divine realm, these Dao masters were as insignificant as ants. Although he had broken through, he was still a cultivator at the lowest level. How could he compete with the other cultivators in the Blood Valley? If he wasn't careful, he would lose his life. Law stared at Su Fong and said with certainty, Su Fong, we can't always be under your protection. We are cultivators. If we die, we should die on the path of pursuing the great Tao of cultivation, not in your heavenly Tao avatar. Su Fong understood. Cultivators should explore, take risks, and surpass the pinnacle. Although there wouldn't be any danger under Su Fong's protection, living like that was tantamount to eating and waiting for death. For them, it was worse than death. They were all experts in the past, and they all had their own pride and dignity. They would rather die a heroic death than covet and enjoy themselves under Su Fong's protection. After thinking for a while, Su Fong nodded and said, Since you've made up your mind, I won't stop you. Law and the other three were overjoyed. Su Fong took out a batch of resources and distributed them to the three, enough for them to use in the Blood Valley. Be careful, there's still a long way to go. Participating in the Jioshuan's Heaven Selection this time is mainly to gain experience. Don't care about the ranking. If you encounter danger, activate the Heaven Selection token at any time and leave the Blood Valley. After a series of warnings, Su Fong sent Law and the other three out of the cave residence. Then, he asked Qin Hung to take them to Dallas City to receive the Heaven Selection token and enter the Blood Valley to gain experience. About 100,000 years passed in the time and time formation. Su Fong suddenly flew out of the time and time formation, his body bursting with layers of tribulation chi. The tribulation chi was very shocking. It came out of his body and instantly turned into tribulation fire, burning wildly. Again and again, Su Fong's body trembled as if it was shattering. The Jiuquan Dao Palace was also turning upside down. Under the shocking impact, the impurities in the placenta seeped out of his body layer by layer and burned in the tribulation fire, turning into ashes. A cultivator's advancement was an extremely painful process, but there was no trace of pain on Su Fong's face. Instead, there was a smile on his face, and his eyes flashed with excitement. When the advancement power in his body became relatively gentle, Su Fong began to control it. At the same time, he began to swallow pills to speed up his breakthrough. With the help of the ancient pills given by Daozu, Su Fong quickly finished his breakthrough. Upon closer inspection, his body had become stronger and more profound. The Jiuquan Dao Palace had clearly doubled in size. The communication and connection with the chaos had become clearer and closer. The Xinyang Dharma body, Violet Fate Dharma body, Xinyang Dharma body, Heavenly Tao Dharma body, Nascent Spirit Dharma body, and Blood Fiend Dharma body had all undergone great changes. Even the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine had undergone a transformation, and its aura had become stronger. At this moment, Su Fong's aura, physical body, Dao Palace, and Dharma body had all reached the level of an upper-level Dao Lord. I've finally broken through before the Jiuquan Heavenly Chosen Elite competition. I become an upper-level Dao Lord. If I improve further, I'll be able to become a Dao Lord expert. Su Fong's heart was filled with great joy. He began to swallow the ancient pills and used the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine to absorb the power from the Blood Pig to make up for the emptiness caused by his advancement. He also began to cultivate the Jiuquan Limitless Sutra, the extreme Dao Mystic Yang technique, and the Heavenly Secret Life Shrinking technique. QL11, the Peach Soul Traversing Vessel, continued to merge and master the hand seals. 300 years later, Su Fong's body finally calmed down. However, he still needed a long time to cultivate to return to his peak and stabilize his upper-level Dao Lord realm. There's still plenty of time. Before the end of the elimination round and the start of the elite competition, Su Fong believed that he could reach the upper-level Dao Lord realm. While Su Fong was cultivating in seclusion, the entire Dallas City was in an uproar. Countless names had appeared on the huge, heavenly chosen divine list in the sky above Dallas City. One could clearly see the rankings of the elimination round. Countless people were watching the heavenly chosen divine list at every moment. Every change in the rankings would cause waves of shock and exclamations. In fact, most of the true geniuses did not participate in the elimination round because they had the title of Divine General of Bloody Massacre. Therefore, the names that appeared on the Heavenly Chosen Divine list did not have much meaning. However, for those ordinary cultivators, it was of great significance. All the cultivators who participated in the Jiuquan Heavenly Chosen Divine list knew very well that only a few could enter the finals of the Blood Valley. It was even more impossible for them to enter the intermediate mystic realm and participate in the overall competition. Their purpose of entering the Blood Valley was to be listed on the Heavenly Chosen Divine list. Even if it was temporary, they would be satisfied and would not have participated in this Millennium Gathering in vain. If they could be chosen by a major force, they would undoubtedly be very lucky. There were tens of millions of cultivators participating in the elimination round in the Blood Valley. The Heavenly Chosen Divine list only showed the top 100,000 cultivators. Halfway through the elimination round, the rankings gradually stabilized. One name remained at the top of the list: Yi Fei Bai. He was like a blazing sun, dazzling and eye-catching. No one could hide his sharpness. Countless people looked up to him. Everyone was asking about Yi Fei Bai. Inside the Blood Valley, in a long and narrow valley, a white-robed youth rode on a peachwood sword and slowly flew over the valley. The spatial shackles in the Blood Valley were shocking. It was filled with a shocking, killing intent. It had the ability to attack a cultivator's Tao heart and affect one's primordial spirit. The entire world was filled with terrifying killing intent and killing aura, causing people to fall into madness. Moreover, in addition to the cultivators participating in the elimination round, there were countless blood monsters in the Blood Valley. Even cultivators who had surpassed the shackles of the Blood Valley and had the ability to fly rarely dared to fly for a long time. The fact that this white-robed youth dared to fly on his sword so unscrupulously showed his confidence in his own strength. This person was Yi Fei Bai, who is currently at the top of the Heavenly Chosen Divine list. The elimination round of the Eastern Xian Divine Domain's Blood Valley is too boring. Those ant-like cultivators don't even have the right to feed the Divine Peach with sword. Yi Fei Bai looked bored. With his strength, no one in the elimination round could stop his sharpness. Naturally, it was very boring. In the sky above the valley, Yi Fei Bai suddenly raised his eyebrows. Then, his lips curled into a disdainful smile. A group of rat-like participants. They're hiding well. Then, Yi Fei Bai rode on his flying sword and descended from the sky, heading straight for the depths of the valley. It's that Yi Fei Bai from the Middle Profound Realm. Run. More than 10 cultivators flew out of the valley and fled in all directions. Chi. A peach-red sword light swept out from the sword under Yi Fei Bai's feet. The sword light was extremely strange. It swept out with a whistling sound, as if there were countless ferocious ghosts crying. When the cultivators heard the whistling sound, their Tao hearts were immediately shaken. Their origin souls were actually about to rush out of their bodies. Whoosh, the sword light swept past 3 cultivators and directly swallowed their origin souls. However, their bodies were intact. They fell to the ground and died on the spot. Spare me. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. When the other cultivators saw this, they stopped running and admitted defeat to Yi Fei Bai. At the same time, they took out the Heavenly Chosen token and wanted to activate it to leave the Blood Valley. However, when the sword light swept past, more than 10 figures flew out of the cultivators' bodies. They were wrapped up by the sword light and flew back to the Divine Peachwood sword under Yi Fei Bai's feet. The aura of the mystic Peachwood sword became even more powerful. This Xian Bao could actually directly harvest the origin souls of cultivators. Moreover, it could use the souls of cultivators to continuously strengthen itself. Chapter 28:17. 10 years before the end of the elimination round, Su Fong walked out of the cave, left Wudao City, and came to the void. He took out the Peach Soul Sky crossing ship and activated it. It turned into a huge treasure ship that floated in the void. Su Fong entered the treasured vessel, and then he placed the red-haired old man and the 30-plus Tao Lords under Yi Fei Bai's command within the space within the formation. On the other hand, he was sitting cross-legged in a formation as if he was shackled. After doing all this, Su Fong began to wait quietly for the exit of the Blood Valley. Su Fong closed his eyes. When he suddenly opened his eyes, 10 years had passed. He looked through the barrier of the Peach Soul Sky crossing ship and saw the huge scroll floating in the sky above Wudao City. Seeing Yi Fei Bai's shining name on the scroll, Su Fong showed a mocking expression. First place in the elimination round. Haha, Yi Fei Bai, Yi Fei Bai. I wonder what kind of expression you will have when you come out of the Blood Valley excitedly and find out that your king-grade Xianbao is in my hands and all your subordinates have been suppressed by me? Su Fong's eyes flashed across the chosen divine list. Suddenly, his pupils shrank and bloomed with a strange light. Law. He didn't expect to find Law's name in the 3,000th place of the chosen divine list. With Law's strength, it was really shocking that he could get such a ranking among so many cultivators. Although Law was born in the Pansong universe, he is a killing race born from blood. The environment of the Blood Valley is just right for him. Moreover, Law's talent is amazing. It's not strange that he can get such a ranking in the elimination round. Su Fong was very happy to see Law's amazing achievements. Among the cultivators born in the Pan-Song universe, except for Shu Wanjin and Mystery, only Law would have the most extraordinary achievements in the future. I wonder how senior sister Shu Wanjin and Mystery are now. Maybe I can meet them in this Jiuxuan chosen divine list. Su Fong was happy for Law's achievements and thought of Shu Wanjin and Mystery. He continued to search on the chosen god list. Soon, Su Fong discovered many familiar names. They were all experts under Su Fong. When the elimination round began, Su Fong had also allowed them to enter the Blood Valley as a form of training. Like Qin Heng, Wu Meng, and the others, Su Fong also planned to let them participate in the elite competition. They wanted to use this Jiuxuan Tianxian to improve their strength. The strength of these subordinates who participated in the knockout competition was not bad. Therefore, most of them had made it into the top 100,000, which made Su Fong feel quite gratified. Following that, Su Fong discovered Xiao Wanning's name on the chosen god list. He was ranked in the 90,000 range. With his strength, it was already extraordinary for him to obtain such a result. However, Su Fong did not find the names of Sang Qiu and Wei Dao. Obviously, they did not make it into the top 100,000. Su Fong was not surprised that they had not been able to enter the elite competition. He was just worried that something would happen to the two of them in the Blood Valley and that they would be killed by the other participants. Buzz QL-11A space outside the Peach Soul sky-crossing airship suddenly trembled. Yi Fei Bai, you're finally out. Su Fong's heart was filled with a fierce aura. A ray of crimson light gushed out from the space and turned into a door. A young man in white leaped out from it. It was Yi Fei Bai. Yi Fei Bai steadied himself and looked at the chosen god list in the sky above Wudao City. Seeing his name hanging at the top of the list, his eyes were filled with pride. It's only the knockout competition. It's nothing. In the elite competition and the final competition, I want my name to be looked up to by Dongshuan's cultivators. If the top of the Eastern Xian Divine Realm's final competition belongs to me, Yi Fei Bai, I wonder how the cultivators of the Eastern Xian Divine Realm will feel. Yi Fei Bai smiled domineeringly, an aura of disdain for the world rising spontaneously. Then, he looked at the Peach Soul sky-crossing airship. They knew that this young master was leaving the valley today, but no one came to welcome me. It looks like I've been away from Middle Xian for too long. These subordinates have forgotten the strict rules of the Yi family. Seeing that the red-haired elder and the rest were waiting for him, Yi Fei Bai raised his eyebrows and his eyes flashed with a domineering light. He then projected his senses and found that the red-haired elder and his subordinates were actually inside the Peach Soul sky-crossing airship, drunk as mud, as if they were drunk. Yi Fei Bai was enraged. Damn it! This young master was fighting in the Blood Valley, and they dared to act so recklessly and disregard this young master. All of them deserve to die. Yi Fei Bai then found Su Fong, and his anger instantly vanished. He flew towards the Peach Soul sky-crossing airship in surprise and joy. Seeing that he was about to enter the Peach Soul sky-crossing airship, Su Fong could then use the power of the Royal Xian Bao to shackle Yi Fei Bai and make it impossible for him to escape. Little did he know, Yi Fei Bai suddenly stopped. No, something's not right. The Peach Soul sky-crossing airship feels so foreign to me, as if it's no longer my Xian Bao. He was indeed a genius from one of Zhongshuan's 5 divine tribes. Although Yi Fei Bai was domineering and arrogant, he was definitely not an idiot. On the contrary, he was extremely shrewd and had discovered the clues immediately. At this moment, Su Fong's cold laughter came from inside the Peach Soul sky-crossing airship. Yi Fei Bai, I've underestimated you. I didn't expect you to see through my trap. Su Fong, you're not shackled. Yi Fei Bai's eyes were filled with shock and surprise. Su Fong was not shackled, and his subordinates were not really drunk. They were shackled by Su Fong. How could he not be surprised? Are you very disappointed? Su Fong came out of the formation and mocked Yi Fei Bai. Yi Fei Bai quickly recovered from his shock and regained his composure. He nodded and said, Impressive. as expected of the peerless genius who could stop the invasion of Dongxian. This young master has to admit that I've underestimated you. Su Fong said indifferently, hand over the divine dragon you've shackled and restore the face of my Tao partner. I'll let you die less painfully. Yi Feibai said domineeringly, this young master has already suppressed your divine dragon and plans to use it as a mount. This young master has never had the habit of handing over things that are in this young master's hands. As for your Tao partner, she's been hit by this young master's blackwood palm. No one can cure her. Not only her face, her entire body will be eroded by the power of the blackwood palm. If so, then I can only kill you. Yi Feibai could not restore Xuanqin's face. Su Fong was not very disappointed. That was because Xian Daozu had promised before. Su Fong naturally did not have to worry about anything. Do you think an ant like you can kill this young master? Yi Feibai snorted at Su Fong. In terms of cultivation base, he was a level higher than Su Fong. In terms of background, he came from the central profound divine region's 5 divine tribes. He possessed extraordinary skills in Xianbao. Naturally, he could look down on Su Fong. Yi Feibai waved his hand and swept out a dozen peach leaf-shaped runes. They shattered one after another and transformed into tall and sturdy figures. Their aura had reached the height of upper Tao Lord. This young master would like to see what method you've used to suppress so many of this young master's subordinates. I'll let you have a taste of this young master's peach puppet warriors. Yi Feibai pointed at Su Fong. The dozen puppets exploded with their aura and charged at Su Fong. You have runes. Do you think I don't? Besides, I have more runes than you. Su Fong snorted domineeringly. He waved his hand, and over 100 runes appeared. With a thought, the runes shattered and transformed into a shocking array that enveloped the dozen puppets. These runes were all array runes. Moreover, they weren't ordinary array runes. They were grade 3 array runes. Over 100 array runes exploded and formed a vast array that shackled the dozen puppets. The majestic array's divine aura swept out continuously and continuously consumed the puppet's energy. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the puppet's energy was completely exhausted by the array. They turned into peach leaves and were finally killed by the array. Yi Feibai's expression didn't change. He flipped his right hand, and a green peach pit appeared in his palm. Then, Yi Feibai released a strand of his consciousness and merged it with the peach pit. The peach pit flew out and cracked open with a crack. It emitted a shocking aura of vitality, and a sapling of a peach tree rapidly grew. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The peach tree grew crazily at an astonishing speed. In an instant, it had grown into a towering tree that covered the sky and the sun. It formed a space that enveloped Su Fong. However, it wasn't over yet. On the huge peach tree, pink peach blossoms quickly bloomed. The entire world was filled with the fragrance of peach blossoms. Su Fong felt his primordial spirit's consciousness becoming blurry. He was about to lose himself in this peachwood world. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Countless peach blossoms floated down from the peach tree, fluttering in the wind. As the peach blossoms floated down, they transformed into beautiful women. Their bodies were covered in a thin veil. Their incomparably beautiful bodies were faintly discernible. They were incomparably alluring and made one's blood boil. However, in this beautiful scene, there was a huge danger. It caused the Tao runes of the Tianji Life Shrinking Technique and the Tian Yin Xianjian rune to flash rapidly in Su Fong's Jiuquan Tao Palace. Su Fong's lost primordial spirit's consciousness unknowingly woke up in an instant. He immediately broke out in cold sweat. One by one, the women let out mesmerizing laughter as they twisted their bodies and gathered from all directions. Yi Feibai casually smiled. My peach deity illusory realm can even cause a realm lord to lose his consciousness. In the end, his primordial yang energy will be sucked dry. Su Fong, using up your primordial yang energy in my peach deity illusory realm can be considered a cheap death for you. Suddenly, absolute yang life exterminating divine fist. Su Fong let out a thunderous roar and then punched out. Boom! This punch contained Su Fong's thoughts and a supreme Yangdao aura. It gave rise to a violent gale that transformed into a whirlpool that whistled as it swept out in all directions. As the absolute Yang whirlpool spun, the illusions of the beauties in the surroundings were instantly shattered. They turned into peach blossoms and then collapsed into nothingness. Chapter 28:18. Su Fong's newly grasped Yang life-exterminating fist was so domineering that it actually broke Yi Feibai's illusion with a single punch. Yi Feibai's originally disdainful eyes finally turned serious. After all, Yi Feibai was from one of the 5 great divine clans of the central profound divine domain, the true cultivation divine clan. He had seen through Su Fong's amazing divine ability with a single glance. It was definitely not something an ordinary cultivator could grasp. Immediately, he stopped looking down on Su Fong. No genius can be underestimated. You're qualified to make me use the supreme Xianbao. Peach God Mysterious Wood Sword. Yi Feibai activated the Peach God Mysterious Wood Sword. The pink sword light swept out, emitting a strange whistling sound. It was as if there were countless ghosts crying out. Hearing this strange sword sound, Su Fong felt Kai Yu's Dao heart trembling. The origin of his soul was on the verge of coming out of his body. What a powerful Xianbao! It can actually devour the origin of my soul. Su Fong's divine light changed instantly. He hurriedly activated Kai Yu's Dao heart and released a 7-colored light, finally stabilizing his Dao heart. Inside the Jiushuan Dao Palace, mysterious Dao, runes from the life, shrinking technique also surged out. The aura swept away the power contained in the sword sound, and the soul that was on the verge of coming out of his body returned to normal. Swoosh! The sword light swept towards Su Fong in a flash and swallowed Su Fong in an instant. Su Fong's physical body and Dharma body were intact, but he felt an extremely strange power that wanted to rip his soul out of his body. Such a powerful Xianbao. I have no choice but to use my trump card, Thunder of Destiny. Facing such a shocking soul attack, Su Fong did not hesitate to use the supreme divine ability from the life shrinking technique, the Thunder of Destiny. As the Dao runes surged, the ethereal sound of thunder reverberated inside the Jiushuan Dao Palace. The Peach God Mysterious Wood Sword's soul-devouring power that had invaded Su Fong's body was instantly shattered into pieces. Moreover, the power of the Thunder of Destiny did not decrease. It swept out from inside the Dao Palace and followed the sword Qi towards the Peach God Mysterious Wood Sword in Yi Feibai. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Peach God Profound Wood Sword sensed the astonishing power of the lightning of destiny and immediately began to tremble violently. A series of humanoid projections surged out from within. They were the soul essences of countless cultivators that it had devoured. Qi, Qi. The lightning of destiny had the power to obliterate everything, and it was like a violent gale sweeping away fallen leaves. Countless souls were reduced to ashes. Crack! Cracks appeared on the Peach God Mystic Wood Sword before it finally shattered. The remaining might of the lightning of destiny did not diminish. Following the karma of destiny, it blasted towards Yi Feibai. Destiny stages supreme destiny divine ability. The Peach God Mysterious Wood Sword was destroyed by the thunder of destiny. Yi Feibai also spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he sensed a fatal threat from fate, and his divine light instantly changed. Substitution of the plum for the peach. Just as Yi Feibai was about to be killed by the thunder of destiny, a shadow separated from his body and turned into a human body that had the exact same appearance and aura of destiny as him. As for his original body, it rapidly turned into nothingness and disappeared without a trace. Boom! The power of the lightning of destiny blasted onto the body of Yi Feibai, and the body shattered layer by layer. In the end, it turned into a pile of ashes and scattered in the void. He actually has such a divine ability that allows his clone to replace his original body to bear the power of the life shrinking technique. The Joshuan divine realm's various powerful divine abilities are indeed endless. Who would have thought that Yi Fei Bai would be able to escape? This made Su Fong very surprised. At this moment, he realized that he had still underestimated Yi Fei Bai. None of these genius disciples from powerful factions were simple. They had all sorts of powerful divine abilities and Xian Bao. Count yourself lucky that I let you escape this time. The next time we meet, let's see what kind of life-saving means you have. Su Fong reached out his hand and grabbed at the air. The Peach Soul Sky crossing ship quickly shrunk and was sucked into his Dao Palace. Then, he activated the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine to devour the red-haired old man's vitality and blood. Then, it seeped into his body to quickly recover the vitality that was consumed by the life-shrinking technique. The white hair on his temples was turning black at a speed visible to the naked eye. His withered aura was also recovering rapidly. It was also thanks to the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine and those blood pigs that Su Fong did not have to worry as much about using the life-shrinking technique as before. The ancestral Graygon is still in Yi Fei Bai's hands. Xuanqin's face was destroyed, and his subordinates were killed. I have to avenge them. That Yi Fei Bai will definitely participate in the elite competition. At that time, I will settle the score with him in the Blood Valley. Su Fong projected his sensing power out. He could not sense Yi Fei Bai's aura. He did not know where Yi Fei Bai had escaped to. He could only give up on pursuing him. Then, Su Fong used the burning light escape technique and flew directly to Daoless City. More than 2 hours after Su Fong left, a peach leaf suddenly appeared from the void. It turned into a rune and burned to ashes with a sizzle. Then, Yi Fei Bai's figure flashed out. It's all thanks to this one-leaf camouflage talisman. Otherwise, I would have been in danger. Yi Fei Bai's eyes flashed with fear. It turned out that he did not run far. He used the talisman to hide his figure and aura. He was hiding in the distance. Even Su Fong did not discover his existence. Yi Fei Bai was a genius of the central profound divine region's Yi clan. He had an extraordinary ability, Xian Bao, and talisman. It was just that extraordinary. Su Fong, I swear that if I don't kill you, I am not human. Thinking of the loss this time, Yi Fei Bai gnashed his teeth. His handsome face was full of resentment. Yi Fei Bai's loss this time was huge. Besides a king-grade dark treasure like the Peach Soul Sky traversing vessel, there were over 30 other experts. Moreover, there was even a formidable expert that surpassed the Downward realm amongst them. He also lost the Peach God Mysterious Wood Sword, a powerful Xian Bao, and a one-leaf camouflage talisman. Using the plum substitute peach corpse technique also caused Yi Fei Bai's vitality to be greatly damaged. Losing so many treasures and his injuries were not light. Yi Fei Bai had never suffered such a huge loss since birth. How could he not be angry? After calming down and thinking, Yi Fei Bai suddenly took out a talisman. From the talisman, Dongxian Jun's voice sounded, "Congratulations, young Master Yi, for reaching the top of the heavenly chosen divine list." Congratulations. Yi Fei Bai's sword-like eyebrows instantly rose in anger. Dongxian Jun, are you mocking me on purpose? Dongxian Jun hurriedly apologized. It was a slip of the tongue. Young Master Yi, please don't blame me. With young Master Yi's strength, why would you care about the top of the elimination round? Yi Fei Bai shouted. Dongxian Jun, I want you to think of a way to deal with Su Fong. Pull out his tendons, skin him alive, and exterminate his entire clan. Only then can I vent my anger. Only now did Dongxian Jun realize that Yi Fei Bai was angry because he suffered a huge loss at the hands of Su Fong. His flattery just now had hit the nail on the head. Young Master Yi, my 5-element sword body was also destroyed by Su Fong. Both of them were in the same boat. This person is so arrogant. He destroyed your Dharmakaya. Did Heaven Pavilion not stand up for you? Dongxian Jun's voice was filled with grief and indignation. Stand up for me? Not only did Tuo Qianji not punish Su Fong, he even grounded me. Yi Fei Bai was shocked and stunned. What? Young Master Yi, don't worry. When the elite competition starts, Not only will I kill Su Fong in the Blood Valley, I will also completely destroy the square heaven city that he built in the heaven-forsaken wilderness. My vitality is injured now. The Peach Soul Sky Crossing ship was also taken away by Su Fong. I have no subordinates with me, so it's difficult for me to return to Middle Mystery. I can only go through the Blood Valley. During the final round, I will return directly from the Blood Valley to the training ground of Middle Mystery. In the elite competition, you must try to help me. It's just a small matter. Leave it to me. Dallas City. Silhouettes were transported out of the Blood Valley. The elders and family members who had been waiting outside immediately surrounded them. Those who were able to enter the Heavenly Chosen Divine list were naturally overjoyed. They were surrounded by their elders and family members as meritorious subjects. Those who were not able to enter the Heavenly Chosen Divine list were dejected. Even their elders and family members sighed along with them. There were those who consoled them and those who reprimanded them. There were also many cultivators who had lost their lives in the Blood Valley, never to appear again. Their family members who were waiting outside were naturally devastated. There were even more people who were paying attention to the Heavenly Chosen Divine list in the air and discussing it. Yi Fei Bai, first place. I heard that Yi Fei Bai is a genius from Middle Mystery. I didn't expect that our Jiushuan's Heavenly Chosen Divine list would be taken by a Middle Mystery genius. It's just the elimination round. Many of our Dongxian geniuses didn't participate in the elimination round. That's why Yi Fei Bai took first place. That's right. The champion of the elite competition will definitely change. That's not necessarily true. I heard that Yi Fei Bai comes from the Yi clan, one of the 5 divine tribes of Middle Mystery. There aren't many geniuses in our Dongxian divine domain who can beat him. Many Dongxian cultivators were unconvinced when they learned of Yi Fei Bai's background. How could the cultivators who were amazed by Yi Fei Bai know that he had suffered a great loss at the hands of Su Fong the moment he left the Blood Valley? He had almost lost his life. How could he still be the champion of the elimination round? Congratulations, Luo. More than 3,000. Extraordinary, truly extraordinary. I didn't expect Master's friend to be so extraordinary as well. Qin Hung immediately came up to Luo and congratulated him loudly when he came out of the Blood Valley. Seeing his name on the Heavenly Chosen Divine list, Luo was also overjoyed and in high spirits. Xiao Wanning was also listed on the Heavenly Chosen Divine list. Although his ranking was at the bottom, it was enough to prove his strength. Sang Xiao and Wei Dao didn't do well. Wei Dao had almost lost his life in the Blood Valley. Fortunately, he had activated the Heavenly Chosen Medallion and escaped the valley in advance. However, the two of them weren't too disappointed. After all, they had just ascended to the true Dao realm and participated in the elimination round to gain experience. They didn't expect to pass the elimination round at first. Just as the few of them were discussing excitedly, a furious voice suddenly rang out. It's him. He chased me in the Blood Valley and forced me to activate the Heavenly Chosen Medallion to escape. Otherwise, I would have been listed on the Heavenly Chosen Divine list. Everyone looked over. A young man in luxurious robes was pointing at Luo and shouting angrily. Beside the young man was a dignified middle-aged man who was glaring at Luo angrily. Chapter 28:19. What? You want to find trouble with my friend? Qin Heng's divine light swept through the dignified middle-aged man and noticed that this person was only an ordinary Dao master. So how could he take him seriously? That dignified middle-aged man originally came aggressively to vent his anger on Luo, but who knew that Luo actually had such an upper-level Dao master by his side, so his monstrous arrogance instantly vanished. The dignified middle-aged man transmitted his soul to the young man. Young Master Yin, why don't we just let it go this time? Let go. This Jiushuan Heaven selection is the opportunity for our clan to rise again, but it was cut off by that evil cultivator from a low-level universe. How can we just let it go like this? The young man in luxurious robes still refused to let it go, and he took out a rune talisman and transmitted his soul over. After that, he looked at Luo and said while gnashing his teeth, "Just you wait. When the experts of my clan arrive, you'll be in trouble." Luo smiled coldly and simply stayed where he was. All right, I'll wait here. At this moment, they were at the square outside the Merchant Association, and there was a sea of people. When they saw that a conflict was about to erupt here, they immediately surrounded them in the center. After 15 minutes, over a dozen cultivators hurried over, and the leader was a white-haired old man. Surprisingly, he was an expert that surpassed the Tao Master Realm. That young man instantly became arrogant, and he shouted domineeringly at Luo Yiji. Let's see how arrogant you can be. Humph, you dare to cut off my future? I'll destroy your cultivation path. Luo, Qin Hung, and the others all stood firm. Qin Hung smiled coldly and said, This Taoist city isn't a place where you all can be arrogant. Even if you're the master of a profound world, you also have to obediently tuck your tail between your legs and behave. These cultivators were obviously from a cultivation family of a profound world, and their overall strength was rather extraordinary. However, in this heaven-forsaken desolate region, even the Taoist sect master didn't dare to do anything to Qin Hung and the others, so they were naturally fearless. That white-haired old man said in a majestic voice, You sure talk big. That young man revealed a domineering smile. I'll be arrogant today. Do you know who we are? Qin Hung revealed a mocking expression. Could it be that you're a peerless genius from the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion? The young man shouted arrogantly, Humph! Although I'm not a genius from the Heaven Pavilion, even the disciples of the Heaven Pavilion don't dare to be arrogant in front of me. My brother-in-law is Su Fong. Ah, Su Fong is your brother-in-law? Now if it was Luo, Qin Hung, and the others turned to be stunned. When did Su Fong have such a brother-in-law? Whoosh, the surrounding cultivators let out an uproar, and the way they looked at the young man and the other cultivators instantly changed. Seeing the expressions of Luo, Qin Hung, and the others, as well as the expressions of the surrounding people, the young man became even more pleased. Even the white-haired old man with extraordinary strength was stroking his white beard as his eyes flickered with pride. The others puffed out their chests, looking proud and elated. A red-clothed woman beside the white-haired old man had her face flushed red. She wanted to say something, but hesitated. The young man said proudly, Now you know how powerful I am, don't you? My brother-in-law is Su Fong. He stopped the foreign tribes from invading Dongxian and saved Dongxuan's human race. No matter how powerful you are, can you compare to my brother-in-law? Kneel down and admit your guilt, then destroy your own Tao palace. Then, this young lord will spare your life. Qin Hung dared not be careless. His eyes were solemn as he cupped his fist to the white-haired old man and asked, May I ask which mystical world my lord is from? Why would you marry someone from Su Fongda? The white-haired old man stroked his white beard and said, We're from Hua mystical world, the Pang tribe of the Hua mystical world. This ancestor is the Pang tribe's forefather. Pointing at the red-clothed woman beside him, the white-haired old man revealed a proud expression and continued, When Su Fong first came to the Eastern Profound Divine Domain from a low-level universe, he stayed in the Pang tribe for a long time and developed feelings for our tribe's precious daughter, Pang Yu. Although they didn't become Tao companions, they did cultivate together. The red-clothed woman lowered her head shyly. Luo, Qin Hung, Xiao Wanting, and the others looked at each other. The young man shouted coldly, Since you know who we are, why aren't you kneeling down and admitting your guilt? Do you want this young lord to invite my brother-in-law, Su Fong? You won't cry until you see the coffin. Suddenly, Su Fong's somewhat helpless voice rang out. When did my Su Fong become your brother-in-law? As soon as he finished speaking, Su Fong flew over and landed in front of Qin Hung. Greetings, master. Qin Hung was surprised and happy as he hurriedly cupped his fists and bowed to Su Fong. Su Fong, it really is Su Fong. Many of the surrounding cultivators recognized Su Fong and immediately exclaimed, causing a commotion in the crowd. Everyone looked at Su Fong with eyes full of excitement, as if it was a great honor to see Su Fong with their own eyes. The white-haired old man, the red-clothed woman, and the other members of the Pang tribe were all stunned and turned into ice statues. The young man's proud and arrogant face completely froze on his face. Luo said with a smile, Su Fong, I didn't expect you to be so merciful. You almost caused me to be crippled." Su Fong was speechless. Looking at the white-haired old man, Su Fong cupped his fists and said, "Greetings, Pang tribe's old ancestor." Cough, cough, cough. The white-haired old man coughed repeatedly, and his old face instantly turned red. This white-haired old man was the Pang tribe's old ancestor. The red-clothed woman was Miss Pang Yu. Su Fong looked at Miss Pang Yu and chuckled. "Miss Pang Yu, did we dual cultivate in the FireNet mystic world? Why can't I remember?" Swoosh! The huge lady's beautiful face instantly turned even redder than the clothes she was wearing. Su Fong looked at the young man from the Pang tribe. "You are the young lord of the Pang tribe?" In the past, the young lord of the Pang tribe, Pang Yin, had tried to fuse with the Six Extreme Tao Saints Tao Heart in the internal space of the Six Extreme Tao Saints Tao Heart. In the end, he triggered the life shrinking technique in the Tao Heart and was directly killed. This arrogant young man from the Pang tribe looked familiar to Su Fong. He should be a genius from the Pang tribe. He called himself the young lord of the Pang tribe, and it was obvious that he was re-elected later. The young man from the Pang tribe trembled as he said, "Brother-in-law?" "No, I am from Su Fong Da. My name is Pang Yi." The Pang tribe's old ancestor secretly sent a voice transmission to Su Fong. "Su Fong, allow me to explain this matter to you. Let's talk in private." When Su Fong was in the FireNet mystic world, the Pang tribe's old ancestor and the upper echelons of the Pang tribe had taken good care of him. If it weren't for the Pang tribe, Su Fong wouldn't have been able to cultivate the purple Fate Dharma body and obtain the Six Extreme Tao Saints Tao body. Although the Pang tribe had done so for their own benefit, Su Fong had received real benefits and had no choice but to accept the Pang tribe's favor. "The Pang tribe and I are old friends. Old ancestor, there's no need to be so courteous. Please." Su Fong led the people from the Pang tribe and quickly left the square and returned to the Chamber of Commerce. After communicating with the Pang tribe's old ancestor, Su Fong found out that the Pang tribe had undergone a huge change. It turned out that after Su Fong had obtained the Six Extreme Tao Saints Tao body, he had been chased by the three highest black sex expert, Heartbreaker Grandma. He had fled all the way to the heaven-forsaken desolate region, and the Pang tribe had also suffered a calamity. First, the Xian tribe had taken revenge on the Pang tribe. Then, the FireNet Mystic World's Worldlord's family, the Chun tribe, had secretly suppressed the Pang tribe, causing the Pang tribe's power to shrink. The real calamity had come from the three highest black sex, Heartbreaker Grandma. In the heaven-forsaken desolate region, not only had she failed to obtain the Six Extreme Tao Saints Tao body from Su Fong, she had also been severely injured and had to return in defeat. Unfortunately, she couldn't do anything to Su Fong. The vengeful Heartbreaker Grandma had vented her anger on the Pang tribe. She had led the three highest black sex experts to the FireNet mystic world and had almost exterminated the Pang tribe. QL11, the Pang tribe's patriarch, first elder, and Elder Pang Zhong, whom Su Fong was familiar with, had all been killed by Heartbreaker Grandma and the three highest black sex experts. The Pang tribe's old man had led a portion of the Pang tribe out of the FireNet mystic world and had luckily escaped the calamity. The three highest black sect still hadn't let the Pang tribe off and had pursued them everywhere. Later on, Su Fong had stopped the invasion of the other tribes and had become famous in Dongxian. The Pang tribe's old ancestor had taken the opportunity to announce that Miss Pang was Su Fong's Tao companion. Only then did the three highest black sect give up on the pursuit. The Pang tribe's old ancestor had brought the only remaining genius disciples of the tribe to the heaven-forsaken desolate region, this time for the Jioshuan heaven selection, hoping to achieve good results and use this opportunity to revive the Pang tribe. In addition, the Pang tribe's old ancestor had also wanted to see Su Fong and obtain Su Fong's help. Unexpectedly, the Pang tribe's young lord, Pang Yi, had coincidentally met Luo in the Blood Valley and was forced to escape. What was even more unexpected was that Pang Yi had used Su Fong to flaunt his prowess, but had kicked an iron plate instead. When Su Fong learned of the Pang tribe's misfortune, he was also burning with rage. That executioner grandmother was so overbearing that she had caused the Pang tribe to suffer with her. He pondered for a while. Su Fong said in a low voice, "The Pang tribe has been kind to me in the past, and now they are almost exterminated because of me. Naturally, Su Fong, will not sit idly by. That executioner grandmother, the Xian tribe, and the Chun tribe of the whole mystical world, I will never let them go. I promise that when the Zhoushuan Heaven selection is over, I will help the Pang tribe to become the master of the whole mystical world." Su Fong's promise surprised and delighted the Pang tribe's old ancestor and the rest of the Pang tribe. What kind of person was Su Fong now? His promise could naturally be fulfilled. After the Pang tribe's extermination, their hardships had finally come to an end. How could the Pang tribe not be surprised? In less than 1,000,000 years, that little cultivator has grown to the point where he can decide the rise and fall of an entire tribe with a single word. Fortunately, I chose to help him back then. The Pang tribe's old ancestor sighed his heart. He glanced at Miss Pang and said to Su Fong, "In the past, in order to protect myself, I shamelessly declared Pang Yu to be your Tao companion. If you don't mind, let Pang Yu be your Tao companion." Of course, the Pang tribe wouldn't dare to claim her as your Tao companion. "Why don't you let her stay by your side and serve you as a concubine? What do you think?" The Pang tribe's old ancestor was extremely shrewd. He actually wanted to turn the pretense into reality. Miss Pang Yu was as beautiful as a flower, but she was a spoiled young lady. Let her be a concubine? Forget it. Su Fong flatly refused. I, Su Fong, am determined to cultivate. Besides, wouldn't it be humiliating for Miss Pang Yu to be a concubine? Don't mention this again. The Pang tribe's old ancestor had no choice but to give up. Miss Pang Yu, who had been full of expectations, was greatly disappointed. Chapter 28:20. After the elimination round, there was a 100-year break before the elite round began. To cultivators, 100 years passed in the blink of an eye. Finally, the day of the elite round arrived. Zhoushuan's chosen elite, Dongxian Divine Realm's elite competition, begins now. Tuo Qianji's majestic voice rang throughout Dallas City. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Silhouettes flew out of Dallas City and hovered in the air. In an instant, the sky above Dallas City was filled with silhouettes. These silhouettes were the cultivators who were qualified to participate in the elite competition and were preparing to enter Blood Valley. They had released their bloodlust avatars early on, filling Dallas City with a thick murderous aura. Right now, Dallas City was like a city of slaughter. Su Fong led Luo, Qin Heng, Wu Meng, Huang Jiangpeng, and a dozen other subordinates, as well as Gao Tianlei, Hua Tianu, and other cultivators from the heaven-forsaken slave tribe into the air. More than half of Su Fong's subordinates were experts who had been suppressed in Blood Valley's second city, Starkiller City. These experts were all sanguine warriors with extraordinary strength and were qualified to participate in the elite competition. However, Su Fong had only selected a dozen or so true experts and talented young subordinates. Their purpose in participating in this competition was not to become famous, nor was it for the rich rewards. Instead, they were treating this competition as an experience to improve their overall strength. The rest of his subordinates stayed in Square Sky City to prevent others from attacking the city during the competition. The elite competition was about to begin. Many of the participating cultivators were anxious and nervous. There were also some true geniuses who were filled with anticipation and confidence. To them, this Zhoushuan's chosen elite was the platform for them to shine and make a name for themselves in Dongxian. Some cultivators were very calm, such as Dongxuan's Huang Huihuang, Gu Qianqi, and Su Fong. To them, the elite competition was just a warm-up. Even the finals of Blood Valley wasn't a platform for them to compete on. Their eyes were not only on Dongxian Divine Realm, but the entire Zhoushuan Divine Realm. In Dallas City, the cultivators and experts from Dongxuan's various forces, as well as the sects, families, and family members of the participating cultivators, were all paying attention to the competition. In the previous elimination rounds, the true experts did not participate. The elite competition was where the true geniuses competed. Naturally, it would attract the attention of everyone. Apart from the 100,000 contestants who passed the elimination round, all the other cultivators who have the title of Divine General of Bloody Slaughter can directly participate in the elite competition. Tuo Qianji's voice echoed in the sky above Daoless City. The rules of the elite competition are slightly different from the rules of the knockout competition. Although they have been announced to the public, I have to remind everyone before the elite competition begins. When Tuo Qianji said this, the cultivators participating in the elite competition pricked up their ears. Just like the knockout round, the results of the elite competition are also accumulated points. The points obtained in the knockout round are still valid in the elite competition. The top 10,000 will enter the finals. However, the difference is that in the elite competition, not only can you snatch other cultivators' heaven's chosen medallions to obtain points, all the points obtained from medallions will also belong to you. This rule meant that once one failed, not only would they lose the right to continue participating in the competition, even the points that one had painstakingly accumulated would all belong to the enemy. Although many cultivators already knew about this rule, hearing it from Tuo Qianji's mouth still made the participants feel the cruelty of the elite competition. They couldn't help but shudder. There's another rule that all of you have to be careful about. It is different from the knockout round. In the elite competition, you can kill the blood monsters in the Blood Valley and absorb their blood chi. Other than improving your blood chi, you can also obtain points. The number of points awarded will be determined by the strength of the blood monster. Be careful. The blood monsters in the elite competition are 10 times stronger than those in the knockout round. After these blood monsters devour the contestants, they will mutate and become even stronger and harder to kill. What Tuo Qianji said next was not in the previously announced rules, causing many of the contestants to tremble in fear. The appearance of the powerful blood monsters meant that the cruelty of the elite competition would multiply. The probability of death would also multiply. How could the cultivators not be afraid? The elite competition will also last for 10,000 years. However, unlike the knockout round, you must enter the Blood Valley within 3 days of the start of the elite competition. Otherwise, you will lose the right to participate. Everyone work hard. Your elders and relatives will be waiting outside the Blood Valley for you to enter the Heaven's Chosen list. This reputed one and Dongxian Pavilion also hope that all of you can shine your peerless brilliance in the Blood Valley, become famous in Dongxian, and obtain a limitless future. Today is the day. Begin. Tuo Qianji's voice was still echoing in the sky above Daoless City when a powerful will that contained endless slaughter descended upon the city. Then, a beam of crimson light descended and enveloped the many contestants in the sky above Daoless City. The 100,000 cultivators who had passed the knockout round, and nearly 1 million cultivators who held the title of Divine General of Sanguine Slaughter activated their blood chi and Heaven's Chosen medallions at the same time. Swish! Swish! The will of the Blood Valley took the contestants and disappeared from the sky above Daoless City, entering the inner space of the Blood Valley. Su Fong looked back at the cave abode in the Chamber of Commerce. He nodded and said to the people around him, "Let's go. Let's enter the Blood Valley." Then, Su Fong's blood armor released a blood aura and activated the Heaven's Chosen token. Together with Law, Hua, Tiannu, and the others, they were swept away by the will of Blood Valley. In the Chamber of Commerce, Xuanqing looked at the sky where Su Fong had disappeared and muttered to himself, "The day when Su Fong will rise up in the Jiushuan God's domain is not far away. I have to work hard too. I can't be left behind by him." In the sky above the dojo of the Taoist sect, Dongxian Zhang's eyes flashed with determination. Jiushuan's Heaven's Chosen medallion is my chance. This time, I must surpass Su Fong and trample him under my feet. Dongxian Jun looked up at the huge Heaven's Chosen medallion in the sky, resentment surging in his deep eyes. He murmured, "Su Fong, if it weren't for you, I, Dongxian Jun, would be a high and mighty genius of the Eastern Xian divine domain. Now I become a laughingstock. You destroyed my avatar and damaged my Dao heart. This time, the Blood Valley will be your burial ground." Gu Tianqi looked at a silver-robed youth and shouted, "Dongxian Hui Wang, If you and I meet in the Blood Valley, this reputed one will compete with you. Do you dare accept the challenge? You? Dong Xinhui Wang smiled disdainfully and looked at the three young cultivators not far away. This reputed one's goal is to surpass them. Dong Xinlai, Dong Xin Xinyang, Dong Xin Qingwei. Gu Tianqi's gaze shifted slightly. QL11, the three of them were dazzling existences, as if they were covered in a layer of halo. With ordinary vision, one could only vaguely see their faces. Their auras were illusory, as if they had become one with the Taoist world. Dong Xinlai, Dong Xin Xinyang, Dong Xin Qingwei. The three of them were mysterious and powerful existences of the East profound heavenly pavilion. Their ranking in the pavilion surpassed Dong Xinhui Wang, being ranked 3rd, 4th, and 5th respectively. These three were all Daozu's direct disciples, and their status was one level higher than Dong Xinhui Wang's. To the ordinary disciples of the Heaven Pavilion, they existed in legends. Being able to see their true faces was enough to excite them. To the ordinary cultivators, they were lofty stars. Even Gu Tianqi, the top disciple of the three sovereign profound sects, could not help but admit his inferiority. Even Dong Xinhui Wang's goal was to surpass the three of them. The top two disciples of the Heaven Pavilion were even more mysterious and powerful. It was said that the two of them were not Dong Xian Daozu's direct disciples, but his direct disciples. They were carefully cultivated by Daozu and were even peerless figures who would take over Dong Xuan's position in the future. It was said that the two of them were training in other god domains when the Jiuxuan's heaven selection began. Perhaps they were currently training in other god domains to participate in the Jiuxuan's heaven selection. No one can surpass these geniuses of the East profound heavenly pavilion. If I can't, Su Fang definitely can't either. Gu Tianqi sighed helplessly and then activated his blood fiend body and heaven selection token to enter the inner space of the Blood Valley. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The other powerful geniuses from the East profound heavenly pavilion and the three sovereign profound sects were also swept away by the will of the Blood Valley. Soon, the sky above Daoless City became empty, and the powerful will and murderous aura of the Blood Valley also disappeared. Su Fang appeared in the space of the Blood Valley. The familiar shackling force and strong blood fiend aura instantly shrouded him. He activated his blood fiend body and landed on a mountain range. He released his blood fiend aura and quickly adapted to the environment of the Blood Valley. He looked over. The current Blood Valley was very different from the last time he entered it. There was no longer Star Slaughter City in the Blood Valley, but a vast blood-red space. It was desolate and filled with killing and death. A huge blood-red star hung high in the blood-red sky. It was like a divine sun that released a blood-red light that enveloped the entire space. The blood fiend aura that filled the space of the Blood Valley was more than 10 times stronger than when Su Fang was in the second Star Slaughter City. It was a shackle for cultivators, but at the same time, it had amazing benefits for cultivating the blood fiend body. Luo, Qin Heng, and the others who entered the space of the Blood Valley with Su Fang were not by Su Fang's side. Obviously, they were randomly sent into the Blood Valley. The duration of the elite competition is 10,000 years. It's not a short time. Moreover, the further I go, the more points I will obtain from other participants. The points obtained from killing those blood monsters will definitely be very generous. Su Fang already had a thorough plan in his heart. Therefore, he was not in a hurry to find a target to obtain points. The elite competition is not difficult for me. My goal is the finals. Therefore, I will try my best to improve my blood fiend body first. This way, I will have a greater chance of winning in the finals. Su Fang found a mountain peak with a strong blood fiend aura. He activated the true Yang evil slaying sword and opened a temporary cave abode on the cliff. Chapter 28-21. The silver-striped blood demon pill refined by Su Fang had an amazing effect on the cultivation and recovery of the blood demon Dharma body. In the Blood Valley, there was no pill that could be compared with Su Fang's silver-striped blood demon pill. Su Fong had made all kinds of preparations for the Jiuxuan Heaven selection. It wasn't that he hadn't thought of refining the silver-striped blood demon pill outside the Blood Valley in advance. Due to the lack of blood demon aura in the Blood Valley, the quality of the silver-striped blood demon pill refined here was far inferior to the one refined inside the Blood Valley. The effect on Su Fong's blood demon Dharma body cultivation was minimal. Su Fong gave all of them to Luo, Xiao Wanting, and other subordinates. Therefore, Su Fong had already planned before entering the Blood Valley. He would first refine the blood demon pill and greatly improve the blood demon Dharma body without hesitation. This was the so-called sharpening the axe will not delay the work of cutting firewood. As for the various materials needed to refine the blood demon pill, Su Fong had plundered the city lord's mansion and the Chamber of Commerce in the Blood Valley Second City, Star Killer City. The various resources and treasures he plundered were piled up into mountains. Naturally, he didn't lack the materials needed to refine the blood demon pill. Su Fong originally thought that refining the silver-striped blood demon pill would be an easy task. Little did he know, in the following refining process, the furnace exploded 3 times in a row. In addition, he refined more than a dozen furnaces of useless pills. If it weren't for the blood armor's strong defense, he would have almost been injured. Even so, he was still in a sorry state. How could this be? Could it be that I haven't refined pills for a long time and my ability to refine pills has been wasted, causing the furnace to explode? Su Fong was shocked and stunned. He didn't expect to encounter such a thing. Huff, Su Fong calmed himself down and began to search for the reason for the failure. He pondered for 3 days. Su Fong slapped his head and said self-deprecatingly, "I'm really stupid. The most important thing to refine the blood demon pill is the blood demon aura. At this time, the blood demon aura in the Blood Valley has changed greatly and is more than 10 times stronger than before. It's naturally difficult for me to refine the blood demon pill with my previous experience." Now that he had found the reason, things were much easier. Then, Su Fong continued to experiment, adjusting the formula for the blood demon pill. Fortunately, Su Fong had a large number of alchemy materials in his hands, as well as enough pill furnaces. Otherwise, Su Fong's plan to refine the blood demon pill would have been completely ruined. After repeated failures, Su Fong finally succeeded in refining the silver vein pill after more than 300 years. Although it was only a 3-vein pill, it was still a success. Su Fong swallowed a 3-mark pill and felt it. With the changes in the blood infernal aura, the difficulty of refining pills has multiplied. However, the quality of the silver pattern blood demon pills that I refine has also increased by several times. Feeling the efficacy of the blood demon pill, Su Fong was overjoyed. Of course, his target was not just the 3-vein pill, but the most powerful 9-vein pill. Next, Su Fong continued to immerse himself in alchemy, completely throwing the matter of the elite competition to the back of his mind. After entering the Blood Valley, Su Fong was not in a hurry to hunt contestants or blood monsters to obtain points. Instead, he hid and refined pills. He was definitely one of a kind among the many contestants. In the inner space of the Blood Valley, more than a dozen cultivators were searching for a target in a blood-colored desert. These cultivators originally did not know each other, but they met in the Blood Valley. After a fierce battle, no one could do anything to the other. In the end, they simply formed a team to hunt blood monsters together. This way, the speed of obtaining points was not any slower than killing other cultivators. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, more than a dozen blood monsters drilled out of the blood-red sand. Each lizard was about 3 meters long. Their bodies were covered in blood-red scales, and their eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Blood lizards? Our luck is a little bad. Blood lizards are the lowest level blood monsters in the Blood Valley. Hunting these blood monsters won't give us many points. A cultivator had entered the Blood Valley before and was very familiar with the blood monsters in the Blood Valley. The blood lizards they encountered were the lowest level blood monsters. Naturally, their points would not be very high. This cultivator was very disappointed. Something doesn't seem right. These blood lizards seem to be different from before. Another cultivator saw some clues. As soon as he finished speaking, the bodies of the blood lizards suddenly expanded. Their bodies crackled as they grew from 3 meters to 10 meters in size. Not only their bodies, but their auras also became 10 times more terrifying than before. They were comparable to peak Dao monarchs. Not good. Run. The cultivators' eyes flashed as they used their movement techniques or activated their Xian Bao to escape the desert. However, it was too late. The blood lizards suddenly opened their mouths and spat out rays of red light. These were actually the blood lizards' tongues. Like lightning, they instantly attacked the cultivators. The cultivators used their defenses or released their profound swords in an attempt to cut off the blood lizards' tongues. Unexpectedly, the blood lizards' tongues were extremely sharp. They shattered the Xian Bao, pierced through the cultivators' defenses, and directly swallowed them into their stomachs. One of the blood lizard's tongues directly pierced through the bodies of 3 cultivators. The 3 cultivators were still struggling and screaming when the blood lizard opened its mouth and swallowed them. A similar scene played out in practically every corner of Blood Valley. Not long after the elite competition began, many cultivators were swallowed alive by the mutated blood monsters because of their carelessness. In a small and narrow mountain valley, 3 cultivators at the Dao Monarch realm were blocking a 300 long red-furred ape in the valley. After a fierce battle, they finally killed the red-furred ape. The 3 experts had suffered heavy losses. One of them, a middle-aged man, was heavily injured by the red-furred ape's final counterattack. The 3 of them took out their Heaven's Chosen tokens. At the same time, they activated their Blood Demon avatar to wantonly absorb the dense and pure Blood Demon aura that was transformed from the red-furred ape. The Blood Demon avatar was changing rapidly. The blood armor became even more solid, the slaughter mark became clearer, and the Heaven's Chosen token in his hand buzzed and trembled. Hiss! A young man suddenly released a strand of thought, and it transformed into a ghastly white blade that carried a fierce and overbearing, imposing aura as it slashed the head and avatar of the heavily injured cultivator into pieces. You actually killed a fellow disciple. The other cultivator was shocked. The elite competition has just begun. He's heavily injured now, and he'll perish in Blood Valley sooner or later. Moreover, he'll be a burden to us as well. At that time, his points would be given to others. Instead of that, why don't you give them to me? In this way, I might be able to charge into the top 10,000 and enter the finals. The young man's eyes flickered with madness. It wasn't just this young man who'd fallen into madness when faced with the temptation of fame and authority. Not to mention fellow disciples of the same sect. They wouldn't even hesitate to make a move against their loved ones. If I, your senior brother, am injured, then would you kill me as well? The other cultivator gazed at the young man with vigilance. And then he disregarded the fact that the blood demon aura that the red ape had transformed into hadn't been completely absorbed. His figure flashed and soared into the sky. Suddenly, a figure flashed out from the right and punched the cultivator's body. This punch seemed casual, but it exploded with a monstrous killing aura. The killing intent it contained was also incomparably shocking, and it stirred up a gust of wind that swallowed the cultivator. Before the cultivator was hit, his Dao heart and will were shattered by the killing intent. Then his physical body and the avatar in his Dao palace were smashed into pieces by the punch. A young man stood in the air and waved his hand to grab the Heaven's Chosen token of the killed cultivator. Then he took out his own Heaven's Chosen token, and after activating it, he released a blood-red Xianguang that swept across the Heaven's Chosen token that he'd plundered, robbing all the points of the killed cultivator. Dong Xinjun. The young cultivator in the call recognized this person at a glance and was so frightened that he trembled and immediately wanted to flee. Suddenly, a thought suddenly appeared and turned into a palm print with a peach blossom pattern in the center of the palm. The pink Xianguang rolled out and enveloped the young man. Then, the peach blossom pattern exploded with a shocking divine might that could devour the origin soul. The pink Xianguang wrapped around the young man's origin soul and brought it into the palm print. The palm print turned into a Xianguang and flew into the forehead of a white-robed young man outside the Colonel Yi Fei Bai. After robbing the young cultivator of his heaven's chosen token, Yi Fei Bai cupped his fists at Dong Xinjun and said, "Dong Xinjun, many thanks." Dong Xinjun nodded and smiled. "It's just a small matter. No need to mention it. This one's strength is inferior to Lord Ye's, and my status in the Eastern Xian Divine Realm is also inferior to Lord Ye's. This small matter is still something I can help with. As long as you can help this Lord enter the finals, the Blood Valley will be connected to the Central Xian Divine Realm's training grounds. This Lord can then call for expert from the Yi clan to kill that Su Fong." At the mention of Su Fong, Yi Fei Bai gnashed his teeth in anger. Dong Xinjun's eyes were also filled with murderous intent. "Before Su Fong dies, I want to see the complete destruction of the force he built with his own hands. Only then will I be able to vent the hatred in my heart." In a forest. The trees in the forest were, of course, not real trees. They were blood trees transformed from blood monsters. At this moment, there were more than 100 cultivators trapped in the forest. The blood trees waved their branches like the tentacles of an octopus, trying to entangle the cultivators. From time to time, blood-red tree roots would suddenly emerge from the ground and drag the cultivators underground. Moreover, these blood trees were very difficult to kill. The cultivators used their divine abilities and Xian Guang to cut off the branches and roots. However, after the blood trees devoured the baleful blood aura, they quickly grew new branches and roots. All the cultivators fell into despair. Suddenly, a long river of blood-red light descended from the sky and swept towards the forest. Wherever it went, the blood trees were immediately devoured and merged with the river of blood. Wherever the river of blood went, the thousands of blood trees around the cultivators were completely devoured. The remaining blood trees frantically burrowed into the ground. Soon, the entire forest of blood trees completely disappeared from the ground. The river of blood swept into the sky and finally landed on a cultivator clad in blood armor. QL11 different from the blood armor of other cultivators. This person's blood armor was black and shone with blood-red light, as if it was refined from material. On the chest of the blood armor, there was a Star of Slaughter insignia. However, this insignia was gold in color and not the silver of the Divine General of Bloodkill. Chapter 28-22. The surviving cultivators looked at the cultivator in the air with reverence in their eyes. The Bloody Slaughter God Lord was a powerful existence that surpassed the 9-star Divine General of Bloody Slaughter. In the Eastern Profound Divine Realm, there were many cultivators who had obtained the title of Divine General of Bloody Slaughter through the Blood Valley. However, the cultivators who had obtained the title of Divine Lord of Bloody Slaughter were bald and had very little hair on their heads. A cultivator at the level of the Divine Lord of Bloody Slaughter could easily defeat the will of a Tao Lord with just the Blood Fiend body. His strength was evident from this. Those who could obtain the title of Divine Lord of Bloody Slaughter were naturally the top geniuses of the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. Who would have thought that one would appear now? Those bloodwood trees were extremely strange. Once they entered the bloodwood forest, the surrounding space was shackled. Even the Heaven's Chosen Token couldn't leave the Blood Valley. If he hadn't acted, none of these cultivators would have been able to escape. They would have all been devoured by the bloodwood trees. That person looked down at the cultivators. The cultivators below immediately began to tremble. If this person wanted to kill them, it would be as easy as killing chickens. How could they not be afraid? Unexpectedly, that person took a step forward and disappeared from everyone's sight. The pressure and shackles of the Blood Valleys were useless against him. QL 11-inch, who is that? It's actually a Supreme Divine Lord of Bloody Slaughter. He's Dong Xianyang, ranked 4th among the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion disciples. Dong Xianyang is the top genius of the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. Why would someone like him care about our points? Everyone was discussing. Someone recognized that person. It was the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion's genius, Dong Xianyang. Bloody scenes were playing out everywhere in the Blood Valley. Although Dallas City couldn't see what was happening in the Blood Valley, They could understand the rankings of the participant from the changes in the Heaven's Chosen Divine ranking. The Heaven's Chosen Divine ranking didn't have 100,000 names, but only 10,000. When the elite competition ended, the participants who remained on the Heaven's Chosen Divine ranking would be able to enter the finals. The changes in the Heaven's Chosen Divine ranking affected the hearts of countless people. After 1,000 years of the elite competition, the rankings on the Heaven's Chosen Divine ranking gradually stabilized. The first place no longer belonged to Yi Fei Bai, but to Dongxian Xianyang. Then came Dongxian Lai, Dongxian Qingwei, and Dongxian Huiwang. These geniuses from Heaven Pavilion were in the top echelon, with scores of more than 10 million. The Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion truly lived up to its name as the supreme power that ruled the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. The 4 disciples of the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion occupied the top 4 spots of the Heavenly Chosen Divine ranking. Gu Tianqi was ranked 5th, his points more than 1,000,000 points away from Dongxian Huihuang, who was ranked 4th. Dongxian Jun and Yi Fei Bai were also in the top 10, and their results were not bad either. The other disciples from the Heaven Pavilion, the 3 highest mysterious sects, the Luo Shao Sword Sect, and other major forces also had extremely dazzling results. Ling Xingqian, Dong Xianzheng, and the others had all made it into the top 100. There were also some previously unknown cultivators who suddenly rose to prominence in the elite competition, attracting the attention of countless powerhouses and various forces. There were many cultivators whose names appeared on the Heavenly Chosen God list for short, while before disappearing like shooting stars. It was obvious that these cultivators had either been killed by other participants or devoured by the blood monsters in the Blood Valley. Strange, why don't I see Su Fang's name? It was not surprising that the disciples of Heaven Pavilion and the geniuses of other major forces could achieve such impressive results. However, Su Fang, who everyone had the most hope for, had never appeared on the Heavenly Chosen God list, which was beyond everyone's expectations. Carefree Divine Pavilion. The spacious hall was open to the maximum, enough to accommodate 1,000,000 people, but it was still crowded with cultivators. The private rooms upstairs had long been reserved by important figures for various mystic worlds and forces. There was a private room on the 2nd floor, which was spacious and luxurious. The Pang clan's forefather and other Pang clan cultivators were in the private room. Not only them, but there were also many powerhouses from the Holo mystic world. Other than the Xian clan and the Chun clan, the 10 major divine clans of the Holuo mystic world were all gathered here. Even the forefather of the Chun clan, who was the strongest in the Holuo mystic world, was among them. It turned out that, after receiving Su Fang's promise, the Pang clan's forefather naturally felt relieved. Before the elite competition began, he had brought his clansmen to the Carefree Divine Pavilion. They had planned to celebrate after Su Fang finished the elite competition. Unexpectedly, enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. They had met the powerhouses of the other divine clans of the Holuo mystic world in the Carefree Divine Pavilion. The Xian clan's forefather pretended to invite the Pang clan's forefather. The Pang clan's forefather was naturally not afraid because of his relationship with Su Fang. Therefore, the powerhouses of the 10 major divine clans of the Holuo mystic world were all gathered here. At this moment, a light screen floated in the middle of the private room. There was a picture scroll on the light screen. It was the Heavenly Chosen God list. Through the light screen, one could clearly see the rankings on the Heavenly Chosen God list. Xian Tianyu, forefather. The name of our clan Xian Tianyu has appeared on the Heavenly Chosen God list. A Xian clan cultivator suddenly exclaimed, attracting everyone's attention. It turned out that he was a genius of the Xian clan who had successfully entered the Heavenly Chosen God list and was ranked over 9,000. The Xian clan's forefather stroked his white beard and snorted. I'm not blind. Of course, I can see Tianyu's name. It's only over 9,000. What's the fuss about? How could the Pang clan's forefather and the other divine clan's forefather not see the pride in the Xian clan's forefather's eyes? They all sneered in their hearts. Old man, you're so proud. Although they were jealous, they still had to flatter him on the surface. Xian Tianyu actually made it to the top 9,000. Looks like there's hope for him to enter the finals this time. With such a powerful genius in the Xian clan, it's only a matter of time before he'll be noticed by the major factions. When that time comes, the Xian clan will also rise. The Xian clan's forefather became more and more proud as he listened to the compliments of the Hulua mystic world's experts. He said humbly, compared to young master Chun Haoshuan of the Chun clan, Xian Tianyu's results are not even worth mentioning. Young master Chun Haoshuan is indeed the top genius of the Hulua mystic world. He's actually ranked over 3,000 now. When the elite competition ends, his ranking will definitely rise a lot. It's very possible for him to enter the top 3,000. The Hulua mystic world is extraordinary to have such a peerless genius. It's all thanks to young master Chun Haoshuan that our Hulua mystic world is famous in the Eastern Xian divine realm. The crowd began to compliment the Chun clan's forefather, causing his old face to bloom like a chrysanthemum. Suddenly, the Xian clan's forefather said sarcastically, "Forefather of the Pang clan." This forefather heard that the Pang clan's young miss and Su Fong are connected by marriage. Su Fong stopped the invasion of the other tribes, and his name shook Dongxian. I heard that even the legendary Destiny's arena was moved. Why don't I see Su Fong's name on the Heaven's Chosen list now? Right, before the elite competition began, you said that Su Fong would definitely enter the top 100. Why isn't he even in the top 10,000 now? Could it be that Su Fong was killed by the blood monsters as soon as he entered the Blood Valley? That's just too unlucky. It's unlikely that he was devoured by the blood monsters. I heard that Su Fong offended the peerless geniuses of the Heaven Pavilion and the 3 sovereign mystical sects. Those geniuses must be taking revenge on him in the Blood Valley. Maybe he's afraid of being hunted down and found a cave to hide in. The other experts also mocked and ridiculed, causing the Pang clan's forefather's face to burn. The Pang clan's young lord, Pang Yi, could not help but speak from behind the Pang clan's forefather. Su Fong must be planning to build up his strength and shock the world with a single brilliant feat. Build up his strength? The Xian clan's forefather snorted. The later it is, the remaining contestants will be the real experts. The blood monsters will mutate after devouring the cultivators. It will be harder to get points. This forefather would like to see how Su Fong will shock the world with a single brilliant feat. According to what I know, Su Fong was just lucky to have burned his 6 extreme Dao Saints Dharma body to stop the invasion of the other tribes. He didn't rely on his true strength. This time, the Jiushuan's Heaven's Choice is a contest of true strength. What's the use of having good luck? An expert from the Chun clan said disdainfully. The Chun clan's forefather and Xian clan's forefather were secretly communicating. They were planning to join forces to suppress the Pang clan once the elite competition ended and Su Fong failed to enter the top 10,000 or even the Death Blood Valley. This way, not only could they please the experts of the 3 highest black sects, but they could also divide the resources and treasures that the Pang clan had accumulated over countless years. The Pang clan's forefather stared at the Heaven's Choice Divine list with a worried look in his eyes. Square Sky City. A black sail treasure ship flew all the way to the sky above Square Sky City. On the treasure ship, there were thousands of black-clothed cultivators. All of them wore bronze ghost masks and exuded a strong, murderous aura. They were a group of bandits. At the bow of the ship, a black-clothed elder stood with his hands behind his back. The ancient Blue City was almost destroyed by the experts of the foreign tribes. Su Fong rebuilt Square Sky City on the foundation of the ancient Blue City. I didn't expect it to reach such a scale in less than 100,000 years. Unfortunately, it will be destroyed in my hands. Looking down at Square Sky City, the black-clothed elder exclaimed. Then his eyes surged with fierce, murderous intent. Su Fong, you destroy my Dharma body. I will destroy your Square Sky City. This elder was the famous lone bandit Blackheart Patriarch of the heaven-forsaken desolate region. At the instigation of the Taoist sects Han Zuosher, Blackheart Patriarch had tried to kill Su Fong and seize Su Fong's treasures. In the end, Blackheart Patriarch tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. Instead, His Dharma body was destroyed by Su Fong, and his vitality was greatly damaged. Who would have thought that Blackheart Patriarch would suddenly appear and bring so many bandits with him? A bandit wearing a ghost mask beside Blackheart Patriarch said hesitantly, "Blackheart Patriarch, if we destroy Square Sky City, when Su Fong comes out of the Blood Valley, where will we find a foothold in the heaven-forsaken desolate region in the future? Since I dare to destroy Square Sky City, I naturally have the support of a big shot that even Su Fong can't deal with. What are you afraid of?" Chapter 28-23. Soar to the sky? Blackheart Old Monster scoffed. Then he said with certainty, "Boss Ghost King, I can guarantee you that not only will Su Fong not soar to the sky this time, but he will also die in the Blood Valley. Destroy Square Sky City, and all the treasures in the city will belong to your Ghost King sect. This is a big deal. Your boss Ghost King is not even afraid of the Taoist sect. Why are you so scared of Square Sky City?" The bandit leader no longer hesitated. "Fine, let's do it." At this time, the appearance of the Black Sail treasure ship had attracted the attention of the cultivators in Square Sky City. The defensive barrier was immediately activated, and the entire city was tightly protected. The defense is not bad, but I don't know if it can block the Ghost King sect's Ghost King cannon. Blackheart Old Monster chuckled. Boss Ghost King waved his hand, and a black cannon stretched out from the side of the treasure ship. The cannon was more than 10 feet long, and the muzzle was a ferocious ghost head with its mouth open. It looked abnormally terrifying. Boom, boom. The arrays on the cannons were activated, and terrifying sounds like the howls of ghosts came from the muzzles of the cannons. Then, they shot out balls of black energy that rolled and roared towards the barrier of Sky City. The black energy balls hit the barrier and exploded. The shocking impact shook the barrier and shattered it layer by layer. The cries of ghosts were heard, and then countless ghost heads flew out from the billowing smoke. They flocked to the barrier and began to crazily gnaw at it. Seeing this scene, Old Monster Blackheart revealed a smug sneer. "When the barrier is broken, I will massacre the entire Square Heaven City." While Old Man Haexan was attacking Square Sky City, in the depths of Dallas City, in a plane of space-time that had been transformed by a spatial crack, the peerless experts from the various major forces of the Eastern Profound Divine Realm were all gathered in a dazzling palace. Supreme Venerable Spring Autumn of the Heaven Pavilion and hundreds of peerless experts from the Heaven Pavilion, some of whom were even more powerful than Supreme Venerable Spring Autumn, were all gathered here. There were also giants from the 3 supreme mysterious sects, Luo Shao Sword Sect, and other major forces. There were more than 1,000 people gathered in the main hall. For the Joshuan Heaven Chosen, these giants had come to the heaven-abandoned desolate region very early. Now that the elite competition had begun, these important figures of the Eastern Xian Divine Realm were all paying attention to the changes in the Heaven Chosen list. With so many giants here, the Taoist sect master was like a servant, ordering the Taoist sect's cultivators to carefully serve the giants. Many big shots were also fighting openly and secretly. Whichever disciple of a big shot had outstanding results, it would immediately attract the compliments and flattery of the crowd. Those who performed poorly would naturally attract the ridicule of the experts of the opposing forces. Strange, why isn't Su Fong's name on the heavenly chosen divine list? A big shot suddenly spoke, immediately attracting everyone's attention. Actually, Exalted Elder Spring Autumn and Grand Elder Changsun had long noticed this and were secretly delighted. Now that someone had pointed it out, Exalted Elder Spring Autumn said, "When we entered the Blood Valley, we were probably randomly teleported to a more remote place." Elder Changsun snorted. "No matter how remote the place is, there are bound to be blood monsters, right? Killing blood monsters will also give you points. Plus, 1,000 years have passed. You should be in a crowded area. Looks like the rumors are wrong. Su Fong is still far from the disciples of the Heaven Pavilion and the 3 supreme mysterious sects. The reason why Su Fong was able to destroy the Starry Gate and stop the invasion of the non-humankind was because of the external power. In the Blood Valley, he relied on his own strength and couldn't borrow external forces. Su Fong naturally showed his true colors. I thought that he would be able to shine in this 9 profound heavenly selection. At the very least, he wouldn't be a nobody. I didn't expect such an outcome. It really makes people sigh with regret. The Titans were discussing animatedly. When Dallas' sect master heard it, he was very unhappy in his heart. Su Fong rose in the heaven-forsaken desolate region. He once blocked the entrance of the Dallas sect and forced the Dallas sect master to kill his experts. Now, the heaven domain's power was expanding. Su Fong's reputation in the heaven-forsaken desolate region far surpassed the Dallas sect master. How could he not hate and worry? Su Fong's performance in the elite competition was unknown. Naturally, the Dallas sect master was very happy. Suddenly, the Dallas sect master's divine light changed slightly, and then he quickly left the palace. He took out a rune talisman and sent a message to his primordial spirit. What's the matter? Sect Master Blackheart Old Monster is leading the Ghost King sect to attack the Square Sky City. Blackheart Old Monster? His Dharma body was destroyed by Su Fong, and his strength decreased greatly. Now he has the guts to attack Su Fong's Square Sky City, and that Ghost King sect. They always appear and disappear mysteriously. They never make a move if they aren't confident. How can they be so bold this time? I don't know. The Ghost King sect has activated the Ghost King cannon, and the top cultivators of Square Sky City have all entered the Blood Valley to participate in the elite competition. There aren't many true masters in the city. I estimate that it will be breached soon. Sect Master, what should I do? Watch closely. Let the higher-ups of the sect hurry to Square Sky City. If that Su Fong can't even pass the elite competition, when the city is breached, we'll directly destroy Blackheart Old Monster and the Ghost King sect, and swallow the Square Sky City. Unexpectedly, the Dallas sect master had the idea of reaping the benefits from the conflict. Inside the Blood Valley. At this moment, the Blood Valley was full of fighting. Su Fong was still sitting cross-legged in that cave. The slash marks on his blood armor had become deeper. The Star of Slaughter pattern that had formed in the second Star of Slaughter City had also become clearer. There were 3 slash marks on it. The reason why the Blood Demon Dharma body could improve so quickly was because of the silver pattern Blood Demon elixir that Su Fong had refined. However, he could only refine a 6-pattern Blood Demon elixir at best. The main reason was that as the Blood Demon aura in the Blood Valley became stronger, the difficulty of refining the Blood Demon elixir also increased. However, the quality and effect of the Blood Demon elixir had also multiplied. This was why Su Fong was able to form 3 slash marks on the second Star of Slaughter in just 1,000 years. Buzz! Buzz! The cauldron inside the cave suddenly trembled. A blood-colored smoke with a strong blood demon aura and medicinal smell rose from the cauldron. Attracted by the elixir inside the cauldron, the blood demon aura in the cave circled around the cauldron. It whizzed like the sound of the god of slaughter. The 9-pattern blood demon elixir is finally going to be refined successfully. Su Fong was surprised and delighted. It had not been easy. In order to refine the 9-pattern blood demon elixir, he had lost countless materials and destroyed many cauldrons. After failing time and time again, he was about to give up. He did not expect that he would finally succeed this time. Su Fong quickly took out the divine primary water and poured it into the cauldron to cleanse the blood demon elixir. With a sizzle, white smoke rose from the cauldron. Then, a silver-gray xianguang containing a shocking blood demon aura shot out from the cauldron. It went through the rocks at the top of the cave and rushed out of the cave. More than 10 elixirs flew out from the cauldron and were caught by Su Fong with a wave of divine might. He took a closer look. The blood-red elixirs looked as if they were formed from blood. They were covered with silver divine patterns, as if they were formed naturally. There were a total of 9 silver patterns. The 9-pattern blood demon elixir was finally refined successfully. Sensing the shocking blood demon aura released from the elixir, the slash marks on Su Fong's blood armor trembled. The 2 stars of slaughter also flashed silver-gray xianguang. The blood demon aura inside the blood demon avatar also moved. The quality of the 9-pattern blood demon elixir refined now is more than 10 times higher than before. Su Fong was very happy. He took out a 9-pattern elixir and was about to put it into his mouth to experience the medicinal strength of the 9-pattern elixir. Who knew QL11? A loud shout came from outside the cave. The person inside, get out quickly and hand over the treasure and the heaven's chosen token. I'll give you a chance to escape from the Blood Valley. Su Fong raised his eyebrows and had no choice but to put away the 9-pattern elixir. Su Fong quickly condensed a blood-red mask on his face and covered his face. Then, he passed through the formation and flew out of the cave. There really is someone hiding inside. Kid, obediently take out the treasure you just obtained. There were a total of 3 cultivators who were at the Dowlord realm. The square-faced, middle-aged man who spoke was even an intermediate Dowlord realm expert. However, their blood demon avatars were very ordinary and had just condensed blood armor. Obviously, these 3 cultivators hadn't entered the Blood Valley to temper themselves in the past, and they just condensed their blood demon avatars during the elimination round. It seemed like the commotion caused by the 9-pattern elixir when it was refined had drawn their attention, and they thought it was some treasure that was emitting the Xianguan. Senior brother, this kid is a 2-star divine general of blood slaughter. A fat cultivator on the left saw the star of slaughter pattern on Su Fong's blood armor, and his fat body instantly trembled. The elite competition had only been going on for over 1,000 years, so it was impossible to cultivate the blood demon avatars to such a height in such a short period of time. The only possibility was that he'd tempered himself in the Blood Valley in the past. The strength of such participants was naturally extraordinary. In the past, it wasn't possible for ordinary cultivators to pass the blood slaughter platform's test in Star Slaughter City. Moreover, because these cultivators possessed formidable blood demon avatars, their strength in the Blood Valley was usually much higher than what it seemed on the surface. They usually possessed formidable strength to surmount their realm and kill their enemies. Another cultivator said, "He's only at the upper Dowlord realm, yet he's actually a 2-star divine general of blood slaughter. He's probably a genius from a great power." A genius? The square-faced, middle-aged man swept his divine light on his Su Fong, and his eyes flashed with a ruthless expression. "I fucking love to torture and kill these geniuses from great powers. Not only is it extremely satisfying to kill them, the benefits are extremely abundant as well. Kill him." A thought flashed from the center of the middle-aged man's brows, and it transformed into an earthen yellow Xianguan. It instantly transformed into a thick and powerful gravitational field that enveloped Su Fong within it. Chapter 28-24. In the Blood Valley, the might of the blood demon avatar was multiplied, whereas the abilities of the other avatars were suppressed quite a bit. The blood demon avatars of the 3 cultivators were very ordinary, so they didn't utilize them and attacked Su Fong with other abilities instead. They were Dowlords after all. Even though their strengths were suppressed, their attacks were still extremely shocking. An ordinary Dowlord wouldn't be able to escape being suppressed when facing their joint attacks. Unfortunately, they'd encountered Su Fong. Right when they were shackled by the gravity field released by the square-faced, middle-aged man's thoughts, Su Fong's blood demon avatar's aura suddenly withdrew, and the 2 malefic stars and Slaughter's mark instantly concealed themselves within the blood armor. Then bang! Su Fong struck out with his fist, and the aura of Slaughter erupted with a bang and shattered the gravity field that shackled the space. Su Fong executed the blood demon's divine might with this punch, and it caused the might of the blood demon avatar to surpass ordinary Dowlords and approach the peak of the upper Dowlord realm. The aura of Slaughter swept out, and it didn't just shatter the gravity field. The thought released by the fat cultivator didn't even have time to erupt with divine might before it was minced into pieces by the aura of Slaughter. The other cultivator's Xian Bao was blasted flying as well. Bang! 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 The aura of Slaughter was like a tempestuous wave as it struck the 3 cultivators. The 3 of them had just had time to activate their defenses when the will of Slaughter struck their Dao hearts, causing their Dao hearts to instantly collapse. After that, their defenses shattered, and their bodies shattered into pieces with a bang. The avatars that weren't able to release in time were all killed as well. The might of Su Fong's blood demon avatar was actually so terrifying that it killed 3 Tao Lords with a single punch. The blood demon avatar possesses 2 malefic stars, and its might is really extraordinary. If I cultivate 3 or even more malefic stars, then how shocking would its might be? Su Fong hadn't expected the might of the blood demon avatar to be so shocking, and he was instantly pleasantly surprised. At the same time, his heart was filled with anticipation. If he could become the God Lord of bloody slaughter, he reckoned that he would be able to kill a peerless expert who had surpassed the Tao Lord with his blood-evil, celestial body alone. He might even be able to put up a fight against an expert like Executioner Granny. However, Su Fong had expended quite a lot of energy to kill the 3 Tao Lords. He had used up almost 30% of the Blood Fury Dharma body's power. The Blood Fury Dharma body's interior was somewhat empty. After the 3 cultivators were killed, their Heaven's Choice tokens floated in the air and were caught by Su Fong. Then, Su Fong activated his Heaven's Choice medallion and released a bloody light that swept across the 3 medallions. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Heaven's Chosen decree trembled. Su Fong penetrated the Heaven's Chosen token with his primordial spirit and could see that his points were close to 30,000. Killing 3 Tao Lords and obtaining 30,000 points, such a harvest was already quite extraordinary. Although he couldn't see his ranking through the Heaven's Chosen decree, Su Fong knew very well that 30,000 points was quite a lot. He should be able to enter the top 10,000 of the Heaven's Chosen list. However, Su Fong didn't care about it all. It's only been 1,000 years. There's still a lot of time. It won't be too late to rob the other contestants after they've accumulated enough points. Su Fong returned to his cave abode and continued to refine the 9-pattern pill. At the same time, he swallowed the Blood Fury pill to cultivate the Blood Fury Dharma body. Let's try the effects of a 9-pattern pill first. Su Fong immediately took out a 9-pattern Blood Fury pill that he had just refined and swallowed it. The pill melted as soon as it entered his mouth, turning into a scorching aura that quickly spread to every part of the Blood Fury Dharma body. After taking advantage of the opportunity for a moment, an astonishing Blood Fury aura erupted in his body. At the same time, it also caused the power inside the Blood Fury Dharma body to surge wantonly. A murderess will rush straight to the Tao Palace and Tao Heart. A desire to fall into a frenzy of slaughter quickly occupied Su Fong's will. Buzz, 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 a medallion in his body suddenly made a sound. It turned out that the blood slaughter medallion was affected by the murderous will. It was as if it was resonating and trembling in his body. At the same time, Su Fong also obtained a lot of strange information from the murderous will. Some of it was specious and mysterious. It was actually a strange law. Su Fong did not bother to interpret the information. He urged his Tao heart to release a 7-colored light to dispel the murderous will that was trying to control him. Then Su Fong controlled the surging Blood Fury aura in his body and constantly attacked the Blood Fury Dharma body, causing it to constantly tremble and shatter. The slaughter marks were also collapsing, then being reconstructed and reformed. Under the repeated attacks, the previously consumed 30% of the power quickly recovered to its peak state. Moreover, the Blood Fury Dharma body became more and more profound. The slaughter marks and the Star of Slaughter also became more vast, and the murderous aura became purer and more majestic. About half an hour later, from the second Star of Slaughter, a murderous aura suddenly gushed out and quickly condensed into a slaughter mark. It quickly spread from the Star of Slaughter pattern to the blood armor. Before Su Fong could be pleasantly surprised, another 3 slaughter marks were born on the Star of Slaughter. He did not expect the newly refined 9-pattern pill to be so powerful that 4 slaughter marks were born in such a short period of time. Since the 9-pattern Blood Fury pill is so powerful, of course I have to refine more of it to increase the Blood Fury Dharma body's ability as much as possible. Then I'll go hunt the contestants and blood monsters. Su Fong continued to settle in the cave residence with joy. He continuously attacked the Blood Fury Dharma body and refine the 9-pattern blood fury pill at the same time. Carefree divine pavilion. In the inner space of the private room, the Pang family's young lord, Pang Yi, suddenly exclaimed, Su Fong. Su Fong's name has appeared in the heavenly chosen list. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Everyone's gaze is instantly focused on the picture scroll on the light screen. Only around 9,300. He's not even as good as my family's genius, Xian Tianyu. How can he be called Dongshuan's unparalleled genius? After seeing Su Fong's ranking clearly, the Chun family and Xian family's forefathers snorted. The other experts of the whole mystical world shook their heads and smiled. The Pang family's forefather stroked his white beard and chuckled. This means that Su Fong has already begun to attack. He's just killed the contestants or blood monsters. He's just starting to show his strength. Just watch. His ranking will rise rapidly. The other Pang family's cultivators were also elated. Everyone stared at the screen, paying attention to the changes in Su Fong's ranking. Who knew? As time passed, Su Fong's ranking did not rise. Instead, it fell continuously until it was out of the heavenly chosen list, never to appear again. Pang family's forefather, Su Fong, doesn't seem to have any magical power. Something's wrong. Maybe he's used all his strength, but he's still been pushed out of the heavenly chosen list. He's not even as good as our Holoa mystical world's genius. What a joke. The Chun family's forefathers and Xian family's forefathers echoed each other, mocking and ridiculing Su Fong. The Pang family's forefather's face was gloomy. He was extremely anxious. Not only was he worried about Su Fong, but he was also worried about the fate of the entire Pang family. Millions of cultivators from the heaven-forsaken desolation region and the other mystical worlds of the eastern profound, divine domain gathered in the hall on the first floor of the carefree divine pavilion. Su Fong was regarded as a savior by the cultivators of the heaven-forsaken desolation region. His performance in the elite competition naturally attracted the attention of the cultivators of the heaven-forsaken desolation region. His name had appeared on the heavenly chosen list and then disappeared without a trace. The cultivators of the heaven-forsaken desolation region were greatly disappointed. Sighs of disappointment filled the hall. The cultivators from the other mystical worlds snorted disdainfully. As a result, the cultivators of the heaven-forsaken desolation region were angered and started a war of words. In the Chamber of Commerce's cave residence, Xuanxin and the dozen experts that Su Fong had left behind to protect her had been paying attention to the heavenly chosen list in the sky above Zhongwu Dao City since the start of the elite competition. QL11, the experts under Su Fong, were anxious and worried about Su Fong. However, Xuanxin's eyes were calm from beginning to end. That was because Xuanxin knew that Su Fong's silence was often followed by unexpected outbursts. Such things had happened many times in the Pansong universe. She had long been accustomed to it. Xuanxin no longer paid attention to the heavenly chosen list. She thought to herself, Su Fong will definitely rise against the heavens again this time. He will blossom in the divine domain of the Jiushuan world of the gods. Although he doesn't care about the gap between us, I care. I have to work harder. Square Sky City. The Ghost King cannon constantly bombarded the barrier, breaking it layer by layer. The entire Square Sky City was immersed in violent tremors. Countless ghost heads crazily gnawed at the barrier, making it look like a big net that had been bitten by rats. There were holes everywhere. Boom! After more than 10 years of attack, the defensive barrier of Square Sky City finally collapsed completely. Blackheart Old Monster was surprised and happy. He shouted loudly, "The city is broken. Kill all of Su Fong's subordinates and rob all of Su Fong's belongings." The bandits on the Black Sail treasure ship also cheered excitedly. Suddenly, from different directions of Square Sky City, dazzling red Xian Guang shot out, forming pillars of light. There were a total of 108 pillars of light, releasing astonishing power. They intertwined and quickly condensed into a huge and vast barrier, enveloping Square Sky City again. Such a barrier was 10 times stronger than before. From Wudao City came the complacent and arrogant voice of the Array Master, Master Zhua. With this master here, Square Sky City is impregnable. You rats want to break through Square Sky City? I'll give you 10,000 years to attack. Let's see if you can break through the great city defense array created by this master. Blackheart, Old Monster, and the bandits of Ghost King's sect were all stunned, and their laughter stopped abruptly. Attack. No matter how strong the barrier is, it's dead. It will be broken sooner or later. I don't believe that I can't break this tortoise shell. Blackheart, Old Monster gritted his teeth and ordered the bandits of Ghost King's sect to activate the Ghost King cannon again and launch an even fiercer attack on Square Sky City. Blood Valley. Time flew, and another 3,000 years passed. After 3,000 years of silence in the cave where Su Fong was hiding, there was suddenly a long howl. Then the top of the mountain shattered, and a figure shot up into the sky. Su Fong finally ended his seclusion and was ready to start a crazy killing spree. His entire body, including his face, was covered by the blood armor. On the blood armor, dense slash marks intertwined to form a powerful barrier. There were 3 killing stars on the chest of the blood armor. 3-star Blood Kill General. Chapter 28-25. After condensing the 3 killing stars, the defense of the blood armor, as well as the killing intent and killing intent it released, became even stronger. Moreover, the killing intent released by the 3 killing stars could easily be used to attack with the killing sword array, which doubled the strength of the blood demon avatar. Su Fong estimated that if he encountered the 3 cultivators he had killed before again, he would not need to use his full strength. He could easily suppress them with the killing sword array. There was another unexpected gain. After taking the 9-mark blood pill, it caused the blood-killing token to resonate, which doubled Su Fong's ability to control the aura of the Blood Valley. He also comprehended some vague laws of the Blood Valley. It was probably because of the blood-killing token. Another reason was that the extraordinary blood pill Su Fong refined contained the laws and Taoist rhymes of the Blood Valley. After swallowing the 9-mark pill, it caused the blood-killing token to resonate. The Blood Valley was an independent space-time. Once he mastered the Blood Valley's laws, the strength of Su Fong's blood demon avatar would naturally undergo a qualitative transformation. Other cultivators certainly did not have this ability. Unfortunately, the laws he touched were very vague, and Su Fong could not fully comprehend them. Now that half of the elite competition is over, it's time for me to show my strength and harvest points. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. He released the blood aura and merged it with the aura of the Blood Valley in the space. Then, he maintained his flying state and slowly flew into the depths of the Blood Valley. Flying in the Blood Valley, in addition to the amazing shackles, he would also be attacked by the blood monsters and other participants. He was equivalent to a live target. Ordinary cultivators would rather walk on the ground. Su Fong was soon attacked from the ground. Chi! 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 Hundreds of blood lights shot out from the ground. There were hundreds of blood monsters that looked like blood-red snakes. They were only 3 feet long, but their speed was extremely astonishing. They were like blood-red lightning bolts that could easily penetrate the defense of an ordinary high-grade Xianbao. Too weak. I don't think I can get many points. Su Fong shook his head disdainfully. Then, the killing marks on the blood armor appeared together, and a killing intent that contained an amazing killing intent erupted. Kill! The amazing killing intent turned into a figure. Although it was a little blurry, it revealed endless killing intent, as if the god of death had descended. Creak, creak, creak. When the blood snakes sensed the killing intent released by Su Fong, they were so frightened that they stopped and curled up into a ball. This was the power of the blood fiend Dharma body. When it was cultivated to a certain level, the will of slaughter release could take form, and it could deter the Tao heart of the blood fiend Dharma body as well as cultivators. QL 11 Chi. 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 The murderous aura swept across, and wherever it passed, the hundreds of blood snakes were all minced into pieces. The blood snake quickly turned into pure blood evil spirit and was absorbed by Su Fong's blood evil spirit Dharma body. Su Fong also took out his heaven's chosen token. After activating it, a faint bloody light flashed from the blood aura of the collapsed blood snake corpses and fell into the Heaven's Choice token. Although these blood snakes were powerful, unfortunately, their effect on Su Fong's blood evil Dharmakaya was almost negligible. He had gained quite a lot of points. Su Fong checked his points and found that they had increased by more than 10,000 points. In other words, killing a blood snake only gave him a little more than 100 points. This speed is too slow. I have to find a place where the participants or the blood fiends are concentrated. Su Fong took out the blood slaughter token and merged his thoughts with it. Then, he activated the blood slaughter token and used the blood valley's will to project its sensing power. The blood slaughter token could borrow a small part of the blood valley's will, so Su Fong's senses could almost ignore the shackles of the blood valley and easily cover most of the blood valley space. Having the blood slaughter token was also a great advantage for Su Fong in the blood valley. I won't touch those disciples of the Eastern Profound Pavilion, the three highest mysterious sects, and Yi Fei Bai for now. I'll use the blood fiends to quickly improve my blood evil Dharma body and accumulate points. After sensing for a while, Su Fong flew in a certain direction. With the current strength of his blood evil Dharma body, Su Fong was confident that he could kill a peak upper Dao Lord expert with it. However, Su Fong knew his own limitations. There was still a huge gap between him and a top genius like Dongxian Huihuang, and he didn't have the qualifications to compete with him now. As for Dongxian Jun, Yi Fei Bai, and Ling Xingqian, they were like clowns in Su Fong's eyes. He could just suppress them if he encountered them, and there was no need to specially look for them. He passed through a mountain range. Thick blood clouds condensed from blood fiend Qi floated in the sky, and they covered the sky. One could faintly sense that extremely powerful blood fiends were hidden within them. Su Fong didn't dare be careless. He was practically flying close to the ground as he flew through the valleys between the mountain ranges. Suddenly, hiss, hiss, the surrounding space was shackled by the bloodwood. Even with the heaven's chosen decree, it was difficult to escape from the blood valley. There are actually blood fiends in the form of plants, and they're so powerful. The blood valley space is really strange. Su Fong was shocked. Hiss, hiss, slaughter sword formation. How could Su Fong dare to be careless when facing such a powerful blood fiend Qi? He activated the blood fiend body with all his strength and released slaughter sword Qi to shatter the hiss. Then, the sword Qi intertwined and formed a sword formation that swept through the surroundings. Hiss, 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 hiss. The blood fiend body's aura circulated in a strange way along the slaughter marks on the blood armor. Hiss, 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 hiss. As soon as the hiss appeared, it instantly transformed into over 300 strands of sword Qi that quickly formed a sword formation. The enormous sword formation spun out and madly attacked the hiss. Hiss, 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 hiss. Countless blood-red sword lights condensed from slaughter Qi erupted. The slaughter intent contained within them condensed into the phantom of a god of slaughter that exerted pressure on the blood fiend trees. The remaining blood fiends saw that the situation was bad, and they swiftly drilled into the ground. You want to escape? Not so easy. Su Fong revealed a lofty and murderous aura. Hiss, 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 hiss. The blood-red soil and rocks on the ground were swiftly compressed and condensed under the pressure of gravity, and they transformed into a material that was harder than ordinary xianbao. Hiss, 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 hiss. Blood fiend Qi erupted from Su Fong's blood fiend avatar and rapidly fused into the surrounding space. Hiss, 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 hiss. Boom. Su Fong punched out with a boundless slaughter intent and a supreme will to slaughter all life, setting off a storm of slaughter. This method of using the blood fiend avatar's power was something that Su Fong had comprehended from Dongxian Jun on the blood slaughter stage in Second Starkiller City. Su Fang's Blood Fiend avatar was now superior to Dongxian Jun's in the past, and this attack contained Su Fang's comprehension of the laws of the Blood Valley, making it 100 times stronger than Dongxian Jun's attack on the Blood Slaughter stage. All the Blood Fiends within 1,000 feet of Su Fang were completely wiped out. The few remaining Blood Fiends disappeared toward the ground's gravitational shackles, quickly burrowing into the ground and disappearing without a trace. Su Fang staggered, and the Blood Fiend avatar's aura rapidly became dispirited. He took out the Heaven's Chosen token while wantonly swallowing 6 patterned Blood Fiend pills to restore the Blood Fiend avatar's emptiness. He could not bear to swallow 9 patterned pills. 9 patterned pills were far more effective than 6 patterned pills, but they were too difficult to refine. Su Fang had been refining pills for more than 3,000 years, but he had only refined 1,000 or so 9 patterned Blood Fiend pills. He had to use them sparingly. The recovery ability of 6 patterned pills was also astonishing. After swallowing more than a dozen 6 patterned pills, they transformed into pure Blood Fiend chi that surged through his body. At the same time, they also caused the aura of Su Fang's Blood Fiend avatar to boil, rapidly restoring the Blood Fiend avatar's consumption. The Blood Fiend trees that Su Fang had killed turned into Blood Fiend chi that was absorbed by Su Fang's Blood Fiend avatar. This caused the Blood Fiend avatar's consumption to rapidly recover, and the avatar also grew at an astonishing speed. A bloody light that was 100 times purer and more majestic than the blood snakes he had killed before was absorbed by the Heaven's Chosen token. Su Fang felt the Heaven's Chosen token heat up. It could be seen that the points he had obtained this time were truly astonishing. At the same time, Su Fang was surprised to find that the absorbed aura caused the Blood Slaughter token to vibrate once more. At the same time, Su Fang also obtained some information. It was the Blood Valley laws. Su Fang closed his eyes and carefully meditated on these laws. A faint trace of understanding appeared in his heart. Suddenly, next to the 3rd killing star on the blood armor, there was an aura that seemed ready to burst out. It was actually a sign that the 4th killing star was about to be born. Unfortunately, the impact of this aura was clearly insufficient and soon subsided. If he wanted to condense the 4th killing star, it was clearly a bit lacking. He waited for the Heaven's Chosen token to calm down. Su Fang also finished meditating. He found that his understanding of the Blood Valley laws had become much clearer, and his ability to control the Blood Valley laws had also increased by several times. It turns out that by killing these blood monsters, I can also comprehend the Blood Valley laws from their energy. Let's see how many points I obtain this time. He penetrated the Heaven's Chosen token with his primordial spirit. When he saw the number of points he had obtained, he was shocked.